Chapter 61. Will felt a wave of unspoken irony. The magic eye that I thought was protecting me all the time turned out to be the culprit who harmed me. Then what should I do? Will could only ask Fern for help. For a wizard, a strong body is only secondary. The most important thing is a strong spirit. Only with a strong spirit can you go all the way unimpeded and become a third-class wizard apprentice. Mental strength? Will's eyes lit up. Since the Jiluo School of Potions and Potions has the Jiluo Elementary Exercise Method for physical exercise, it must also have exercises for exercising mental strength. Demon hunters, that is, wizard apprentices, are divided into 3 classes. Do you know the difference between each class? Fern took a sip of his wine. Know a little. Will's time with Rip was too short, and he failed to learn many things from Rip. For the strength of the demon hunter, Will had only a shallow understanding. Oh? Tell me? I heard that when you advance to the third-class wizard apprentice, you have the opportunity to awaken your natural ability. That's all? Fern asked. Well. Will blushed, because Uncle Rip said that I'm just getting started, and I don't need to know too much. These things will naturally be known after entering the Jiluo School of Potions. Actually, it wasn't that Rip didn't want to teach Will. It's just that the time is too short and there are too many things to teach. Fern accepted Will's explanation. Wizard apprentices are divided into 3 levels, and each level is related to demon seeds. For a first-class wizard apprentice, after transplanting the demon seed will continue to erode the body with radiation. While damaging the body will also be greatly strengthened, and some of the innate abilities brought by the demon seed can also be used. When your mental strength reaches a certain level and your body adapts to the demon seed, you can become a second-class wizard apprentice. Second-class wizard apprentices can use their spiritual power to communicate with demon seeds, guide the magic power of demon seeds to refine their bodies, and their bodies can be greatly strengthened to exceed the limits of the human body. The third-class wizard apprentices gradually merged the demon seeds, turning the demon seeds into a part of their own bodies, and completely integrated them into their own bodies. As a third-class wizard apprentice, his strength will increase explosively. So that's it. So, in the wizard apprenticeship stage, everything revolves around the cultivation of demon seeds? In Will's mind, he also had a rough idea of Rep's strength. The flesh and blood of the monster in Lipo's abdomen has not been completely fused, so it should be in the middle and lower stages of the third-class wizard apprentice. It's just that the middle and lower stages of the third-class wizard apprentice actually possess such powerful power. Even the current Will, facing Rep, still has no strength to fight back. You said you have been transplanting the magic seed for 3 years, right? In 3 years, your body should have adapted to the demon seed, and the radiation of the demon seed to the body has also been completed. You should be regarded as the peak first-class apprentice now. As long as your mental strength keeps up, you can advance to the second-class apprentice at any time. Hey? So simple? Will never thought that the peak of a first-class apprentice is actually so simple. Easy? It does look like this. Fern sneered, as long as the demon seed is transplanted, after a few years, anyone can reach the peak of a first-class apprentice, but the problem is mental power. Is spiritual power so difficult to cultivate? Except for a very small number of people with strong mental power, everyone's mental power is almost at the same level. Fern nodded. Since you can be seen by Rep, you must have shown extraordinary spiritual power bar? Will thought about the night he met Rip. That night, Will bought the Book of the Witcher, inadvertently inspired the hallucinations in the book, and learned the Seal of Alder. After seeing Will, Rep immediately lamented the strength of Will's mental power. It's not that simple to become a demon hunter. To be honest, I'm very surprised that you have survived until now without being defeated by the illusion. Fern praised. Is there no other way to improve mental strength besides innate? Will wondered. Demon hunters can improve their spiritual power by practicing spiritual meditation, but cultivating spiritual meditation is a matter that requires a lot of talent. Without natural and powerful spiritual power, you can't even get started. Meditation? Will's heart moved. In addition to the meditation method, through the practice of night breathing, if you can reach the level of a great knight, your mental power will be stronger than ordinary people, and you can barely get started with the meditation method. Fern said again. After hearing Fern's explanation, Will's heart suddenly dawned. Will originally thought that the reason why his spiritual power was strong was because of his rebirth. Possibly, not so. but because he is a great knight. At that time, Will, although his strength did not reach the level of a great knight, his realm and vitality use skills were undoubtedly at the level of a great knight. Spiritual power, it should be too. Doesn't that mean that every great knight can become a demon hunter? Will's eyes glowed. How old do you usually have to become a great knight? Fern asked rhetorically. Will froze. Yes. Not everyone is like Will. The most talented person may have to be in his early 20s to become a great knight. Because to drink the black stock solution, one must practice the body training method, and the body exercise method will inhibit the practice of the breathing method, so one cannot drink the black stock solution before becoming a great knight. After becoming an advanced knight, I want to become a demon hunter. And it takes 1 to 3 years just to drink the black stock solution. After that, it will take another year or 2 to transplant the demon seed, accept the radiation of the demon seed, and reach the peak of the first-class apprentice. You are talented and can advance to a second-class apprentice. After that, it is necessary to guide the magic power in the demon seed and wash the body, which will take another 1 or 2 years. As for the difficulty of advancing from a second-class apprentice to a third-class apprentice, it takes 5 to 10 years for the most talented person. He wanted to become a great knight before becoming a demon hunter. Time is too short. And, that's only the best-case scenario. Who can become a great knight in his early 20s? In the Cairo Empire, even the most talented person became a great knight after the age of 35. Many people became knights in their teens, became peak knights in their 30s, and then died without taking the last step. After all, not everyone is Will. After sighing in my heart, Will asked the most pressing question on his mind. Do you have a meditation method here? Will looked at Fern expectantly. Fern smiled and took out a booklet from his arms. Will stared at the booklet with fiery eyes, which recorded the cultivation method of spiritual meditation. As long as he had it, the nightmare that had haunted Will for 3 years would be over. Will rubbed his hands and looked at Fern nervously. Take it. Fern also knew what was going on in Will's mind, so he decisively handed Will the booklet that recorded the idea of meditation. Will grabbed the booklet and flipped through it impatiently. Fern didn't care about Will's rudeness. He was just drinking leisurely on the sidelines, watching Will with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Swish swish swish. Will flipped through the pamphlet quickly. This booklet was made of some kind of animal skin that Will didn't know about, and it only had 12 pages in total. Chapter 62. However, Will turned over and over again from beginning to end, but still found nothing. The book is blank. Will read it again carefully, but there was still not a single word on the page. Call. Taking a deep breath, Will put the book on the table. This is not the first time Will has encountered this kind of thing, so he can calm down so quickly. Since it was triggered last time, after gaining experience this time, it shouldn't be difficult to go back and explore slowly to find out what happened. But with Fern here, why bother? Master Fern, how should we read this book? Will asked. Haha, can't you bear it so soon? Fern didn't continue to tease. This book is made of materials that are sensitive to spiritual power. When the sensed spiritual power is strong enough, the words on it will display come out. You try to turn to the first page and try to concentrate your gaze on the middle of the page. Will tried what Fern said. 10 minutes later, a character slowly emerged in the middle of the page. This is the idea of spiritual meditation. There are a total of 12 characters. You only need to meditate on these 12 characters in the spiritual space. How about it? No special space is needed, there are no big movements, just continuous meditation is enough. It is much easier to practice than the breathing method and body exercise method. Fern laughed. Meditation method is indeed much easier to practice than breathing method, body exercise method and health preservation method. Correspondingly, the requirements for talent are much higher. Spiritual space? Will didn't know what mental space he had. Spiritual space has always existed with us. Fern pointed to his head. Everyone has a spiritual space, just like everyone has vitality, but only knights can inspire it. In order to perceive the spiritual space, the mental power needs to be strong to a certain extent. But I can't feel the spiritual space, how should I cultivate? Will believed that Fern must have a way. That's what this book is for. Fern smiled. Have you noticed? When the meditation characters appear, they appear slowly. It's like someone is writing slowly? Indeed. Will nodded. You only need your spirit and gaze to move slowly along the strokes, which is equivalent to depicting meditation characters in the spiritual space in disguise, to achieve the effect of meditation practice. Of course, it is much slower than real meditation. Is that so? Will hugged the meditation book tightly. Without this book, even if you know how to meditate, you will not even be able to get started because you will not feel the spiritual space. This set of basic meditation methods has a total of 12 characters. Only when one's mental strength is strong enough to see the 12th character can one be considered an introduction to meditation methods and be able to initially feel the spiritual space. You can try it and see how many runes you can see with your current mental power. Generally speaking, ordinary great knights can see 1, and talented people can see 3 to 5. Fern's words suddenly made Will nervous. Will is not born with a strong mental power. His mental power is cultivated through the breathing method. Could it be that only 1 rune can be seen? With trepidation, Will tried runes one by one. In the end, it turned out that Will could actually see 7 of them. The uneasy heart fell. Fern stroked his beard, looking very relieved. Due to the oppression of your spirit by the demons over the years, your mental power has been effectively tempered, making your mental power much stronger than ordinary people. I don't know how long it will take me to reach the entry level. How long will it take to reach the mark of a second-level wizard apprentice? Will asked nervously. Ordinary demon hunters start practicing meditation at the age of 7 or 8, and at the same time practice physical exercise. When the body is fully developed, start drinking the black stock solution and transplant the magic seed. Generally, this is the process. You are special. You actually started to practice meditation after drinking the black stock solution and transplanting the magic seed. And because of your spiritual power, under the oppression of the demon species, it is much stronger than ordinary people. This is a good thing, but at the same time, it also makes me look down on your original spiritual talent, and I'm not sure about your cultivation speed. Fern wasn't sure either. That? Will felt a twinge of unease. Your mental power is quite strong, it's just that you didn't know the method before, you didn't get effective training, and you couldn't fully tap out the hidden spiritual power. Come to think of it, it shouldn't be difficult to see the 12th character, feel the spiritual space, and get started with meditation. 1 month is enough time. As for the subsequent practice, that depends on your natural talent. Will breathed a sigh of relief. Mental talent? Will doesn't know if he has such a thing, but it doesn't matter. As long as you can get started. In the past 3 years, Will has swept up the bandits in the territory and executed the death row criminals himself. On the way to Sal City, Will punished rape and eliminated evil, and there were hundreds of robbers and villains who died under Will's hands, if not 1,000. At this moment, the power in Will's body has reached an astonishing level. But Will didn't dare to use it at all. For, isn't it now? Isn't it just to use Yuan Li on the blade? With thousands of sources of power, it shouldn't be difficult to push the spiritual meditation method to the full level. This meditation method is just an elementary meditation method, right? Are there intermediate meditation methods? Advanced meditation methods? Will asked immediately. I don't know about intermediate meditation methods, but there are indeed advanced meditation methods. That. You don't have to worry too much. This set of meditation methods can completely solve your hallucination problem. Before advancing to the 3rd-class demon hunter, this set of meditation methods is completely sufficient. That's good. As for the training methods of wizards, I only know a little superficially. When you enter the Jaluo Potion Academy, you will naturally be exposed to countless profound and mysterious skills in witchcraft. Fern looked forward to it. After Will put the book recording the meditation method into his arms. So, you have done so much for me, what price do I have to pay? Will finally asked the most critical question. Will and Fern, just met tonight for the first time. Fern solved Will's doubts, gave Will the cultivation method, and recommended Will to enter the Jaluo School of Potions. Is it just because Fern is a nice guy? If only this world were that simple. Come out! Fern suddenly shouted to the dark corner. A seductive figure stepped out of the darkness. It's Denise. Will never noticed Denise eavesdropping there. Denise, I'm afraid she's not as weak as she looks. What do you think of Denise? Fern smiled at Will. Will heard that and looked at Denise carefully. With a well-proportioned figure and slender and round legs, under the tight-fitting black robe with slits, it looks even more seductive and alluring. The slit in the hem of the skirt opened up to the thigh, making every man's gaze drift there, wanting to explore the mysterious path. The faint feeling caused countless men to swallow their saliva, and they could hardly bear to step forward and lift the hem of their clothes. Moreover, the proud and confident expression on Denise's face made people feel a desire to conquer. When a woman is beautiful to a certain level, it is time to start looking at her temperament. Denise, both in appearance and temperament, is one of the most beautiful women Will has ever seen. On top of that, only Mother Delia and Naya are the only ones. Even Edith can only be 50/50ths with Denise. Chapter 63. What a peerless beauty! Will sighed sincerely. Although Denise is not Will's type, but for this kind of peerless beauty, as long as it is a man, if there is a chance to kiss fangs, he will not let it go. Will is no exception. Are you interested in being my grandson-in-law? Fern glared at Will's answer. Grandpa. Denise called out dissatisfied. Fern glanced at Denise, and Denise suddenly didn't dare to speak. Will finally understood why Denise was so hostile to him just now and rushed to drive him away. Denise is certainly pitiful and deserves Will's sympathy. But Will can't give up. The world of wizards is just around the corner, and Will must step into it no matter how much he pays. I already have a wife at home. Men, it's not a problem how many women there are. If Miss Denise has no objections, I am very willing. Will smiled, preventing Fern from seeing the true thoughts deep in his heart. Denise? Fern snorted coldly. Denise trembled, and after glaring at Will fiercely, I do. Fern clapped his hands happily. Okay, today I will host a simple engagement ceremony for you two. Under the auspices of Fern, Will and Denise drank wine and said their vows, and the marriage was considered settled. By the way, I have another request that I forgot to mention. Fern looked at Will happily. What else is there? You and Denise's first child must be adopted by the Fran family and named after the Fran family, is it okay? Fern stared at Will. Once Will refuses, Fern will definitely turn his face immediately. Will thought about it. In addition to those who are still pregnant, he already has nearly 10 children, and if he gives birth in the future, it's okay to give it to a Fran family. And in the previous life, it was the time when equality between men and women was the most prevalent. Many children take their mother's surname. But no problem. A gloomy expression flashed across Will's face, and even Fern didn't notice it. The matter finally came to an end, and Fern felt much better. Denise is the only child in the younger generation of our Fran family who has awakened blood. Your offspring will have a much higher chance of having a gifted blood. Fern explained to Will. Fern's words completely changed Will's impression of Fern. Unexpectedly, for the sake of the so-called blood, she married her favorite granddaughter to a person she had only known for a few hours. Fern's amiable look, at this moment, in Will's eyes, is so hideous and terrifying. Didn't it mean that people with blood are born wizards? Not Will belittles Denise. Denise is indeed extraordinary and has some strength, but in Will's view, she is still too weak. At most, the strength is about the same as that of a great knight. Hey, being born with bloodlines has advantages and disadvantages. Fern's face was gloomy. Bloodline people, if they step into the path of wizards, their talent, strength, and potential should be higher than those of people who transplanted demon seeds, but... However, the bloodline also greatly limits us, especially when the bloodline is thin, the cultivation speed is far below that of ordinary demon hunters. Moreover, due to the blood relationship, the demon seed cannot be transplanted, resulting in the lack of strength. Transplanting demon seeds has both advantages and disadvantages. There is no need to look at the concentration of blood, and the speed of cultivation is extremely fast. In just a dozen years, he can reach the third-class wizard apprentice state. Disadvantage: the 30-year-old barrier is over, and when the time comes, if you are not a third-class demon hunter, you will only be greeted by death. Go back and practice meditation first. Next year, I will recommend you to enter the Jello Potion Academy. Since you have transplanted the magic seed, it may be a little troublesome, but I will solve it. Fern said. Everything is troublesome for you. Will got up and bowed to Fern. Will looks down on Fern's character and cruelty. But Fern's kindness to him, like Rib, will never forget. Denise, send your fiancé off, Fern ordered. Yes. Denise reluctantly led the way for Will. After turning a few turns, it was confirmed that Fern could not hear him. Denise stopped, turned her head and glared at Will. Aren't you happy to get my body? I'm not interested in your body, I just want to enter the Jello Potion Academy. Will was telling the truth. Hehe, all men are the same. Denise is very confident in her beauty and her attractiveness to men. I know a girl who left the family alone one night because she was dissatisfied with the family's marriage arrangement. Will said in a deep voice. What do you want to say? You should hate the person you hate, not me. Will looked directly into Denise's eyes. Without me, Will, there would be way cats and dogs marrying you, Denise, if you don't make the effort yourself, your fate will never change. You. Denise pursed her lips. Denise knew that what Will said made sense, but the hatred for Will in her heart did not weaken by half because of this, on the contrary, it became more intense. In silence, Denise sent Will to the door. After leaving Will behind, Denise briskly walks away, like she's getting away from a pile of shit. Outside the door, Will saw Elsa's figure. Elsa folded her arms, her cheeks flushed with cold. Although it is late spring now, there is still a big temperature difference between day and night. As soon as she saw Will coming out, Elsa immediately rushed into Will's arms. Brother Will, are you okay? Elsa asked worriedly. Your brother and I are very capable, what can I do? Will scratched Elsa's nose affectionately. The birthday party was over long ago, Elsa waited outside for several hours, and Will was very moved. A fair-haired, freckled girl stepped out of the carriage. You finally came out? I asked Elsa to get in the car and wait for you. Elsa didn't want to, saying that she was afraid of accidentally missing it. Marie looked at Will with complicated eyes. Mary, from Elsa, has heard many powerful rumors about Will. But all the time, Marie just took those words as Elsa's nympho speech. Especially tonight, after seeing Will offend Miss Denise with her own eyes, Marie was even more disappointed in Will. I just didn't expect that there would be such a big reversal in the end. That Master Fern actually really knew Will. Damn, whose limbs were broken by Will, didn't even dare to say a word of cruelty, and escaped from Fran Manor in despair. Master Will, let us give you a ride. Marie held Will's arm affectionately, not caring about Elsa's glare. After getting into the carriage, Elsa and Marie kept asking about the Fern Manor, wanting to know what they had talked with Master Fern. Will selectively revealed some content. Along the way, Marie became more and more intimate with Will. Even disregarding Elsa's murderous eyes watching, she showed her charm to Will for a long time. Maybe Will wasn't as powerful as the rumors said, he could easily kill a few knights, but just by breaking Dam's limbs, talking back to Denise, and getting to know Master Fran, his value was far more than others. Many children of great nobles are incomparable. How about not taking this opportunity to get close to her? Elsa, who found that she couldn't stop Marie, stomped her feet, gritted her silver teeth, and joined in the behavior of charming Will with a flushed face. Chapter 64. Seeing more and more Will's eyes falling on Marie, Elsa gritted her teeth. I'm here, see you tomorrow. After saying that, Will jumped out of the carriage as if fleeing. Brother Will. Elsa stamped her feet angrily, trying to run out after Will. Elsa, you are too anxious. Marie pulled Elsa back. Seducing men also requires skill, and you still have a lot to learn. It's not all because of you. Elsa glared at Marie fiercely. Yes, yes. Marie's eyes dodged. Back at the hotel, Will vented his desire with his hands, and then took out the booklet in his arms. Gently stroking the cover of the book, Will was very excited. The idea of spiritual meditation is finally available. Will didn't know the existence of meditation at first, and Will only wanted to solve his physical problems. After listening to Fern's explanation, Will was relieved to find that it was not a curse from a spirit body. Will opened the booklet and couldn't wait to practice. Will's current condition is very bad, and he must improve his mental power as soon as possible. Open the first page and concentrate on the page. A twisted and weird rune slowly emerged, as if someone was holding a pen to write. Will's eyes moved with the strokes. After the characters on the first page appeared, Will opened the second page. In the same way, Will turned to the seventh page. One night. Will practiced over and over again, but he was still stuck on the seventh rune, and he didn't feel any sign of his mental power getting stronger. Instead, he was even more tired because he didn't sleep all night. Today, the weather is sunny and the breeze is blowing. Will sat among the flowers, and the faint fragrance wafted into Will's nose with the wind. With his eyes closed, Will kept drawing meditation runes in the mental space. There are 12 meditation runes in total. Only when all the runes are drawn in the spiritual space, and they are condensed and not dispersed, can meditation be counted? Again and again. The runes shattered and gathered again, gathered and shattered again. Constantly trying, what ushered in was continuous failure. The sun was rising directly overhead, and the golden light was shining on Will. Will's face contorted. Hurry up, you must hold on, come again. Finally, after repeated failures, the 12th rune was condensed successfully. Boom! The whole spiritual space is in a turmoil. Originally vague, like a mental space shrouded in mist, the mist was swept away, and the entire mental space was clearly displayed in front of Will. 12 golden runes float in the spiritual space. As Will's mind relaxed, the 12 runes shattered and scattered, disappearing into the mental space. Call. Will lay down among the flowers. 20 days have passed, and the method of meditation has finally started. The second day after leaving Fran Manor, Fern's emissary found the hotel where Will was staying and connected Will to the Fern Manor. Fern personally guided Will's practice of spiritual meditation, told Will the precautions of spiritual meditation, and provided Will with the best practice place. At the same time, they also find ways to deepen the relationship between Will and Denise. It's a pity that Denise hasn't looked Will directly in the past half a month. Will also thought about cultivating a relationship with Denise. After all, Denise is his fiancée, and Will doesn't want to marry someone who doesn't have feelings. As a result, Denise took off her clothes and stood naked in front of Will. You can use my body as you like, but you can never get my heart. Under Denise's mocking eyes, Will walked away in despair. At the same time, the trace of sympathy and pity for Denise in Will's heart also disappeared. Humph, do you think I want to marry you? Will originally wanted to discuss it with Denise and find a way. Like not necessarily marrying Denise? There are quite a lot of people in the Fran family. Now Will has something to ask Fern for help, and dare not disobey Fern. But next year, after entering Zero Potion Academy, it will be very different. Will still be grateful to Fern, or will he keep his blood in the Fern family, but it doesn't have to be Denise, right? Presumably, in the Fran family, there are not a few women who want to conceive a child with Will. But Denise sneered at Will again and again, either mocking or cursing secretly. Clay figurines also have 3 points of fire. It's reasonable for you to pity you, isn't it? After a few rejections, Will ignored Denise. Anyway, for Will, having one more peerless woman is what he earns. As for whether the other party's heart is on him or not, do men care? If Denise were Naya, Will would be heartbroken, and he would try his best to win Denise's heart. Too bad Denise is not Naya. Blue Spirit. The spiritual meditation method has already been introduced, and what needs to be done now is to raise the level. Finding the spiritual meditation method that appeared on the Blue Spirit interface, Will's spirit skillfully clicked the plus sign behind the meditation method. Upgraded spiritual meditation, yes/no. Yes. Consuming 15 points of source power, spiritual meditation can be upgraded to level 1. 15 points of source power? It's less than expected. Consuming 30 points of source power, spiritual meditation can be upgraded to level 2. Consume 60 points of source power. Consume 120 points of source power. Consuming 240 points of source power, spiritual meditation can be upgraded to level 5. Have you consumed a total of 465 points of source power? Seeing that there are still a few thousand yuan li, he smiled slightly, and glanced at the 0-level Alder seal. Do you want to upgrade the seal of Alder? After thinking about it, Will still gave up. The interface of Alder's seal is still grey, and I can't use it after learning it now. It's better not to waste the source power for no reason. Feeling the spiritual power rising up one by one, the eyes gradually become clear, and it feels like the invisible constraints of the body have disappeared. There is no need for others to elaborate. Will instinctively felt that the suppression of the spirit by the demon seeds disappeared, and the hallucinations would never reappear in the future. 3 years, 3 full years. Will looked up at the blue sky, sighing infinitely in his heart. Only Will knows how much pain he has experienced in the past 3 years. Now, it's just the beginning. Will gets up and leaves the garden to find Fern. Grandpa Fern, my spiritual meditation method has already started. Real? Fern grabbed Will's shoulder excitedly. For the improvement of Will's strength, Fern is more excited than anyone else. Even Fern's favorite granddaughter is on Will. The faster Will progresses and the stronger his talent is, the happier Fern will be. At first, Fern was a little skeptical of Will. But after knowing that Will is a great knight and that he has cultivated his physical training to a very high level, the doubts in his heart disappeared. Today, after learning that Will has started to meditate in 20 days, I can only feel lucky. I don't know what to do next? Will asked. To become a qualified wizard, although strong strength is necessary, the corresponding knowledge is also indispensable. Every powerful wizard is also a great wise man. Fern said. I heard Rip say that wizards are synonymous with wisdom and strength. Chapter 65. I just don't know, what should I learn? Will looked at Fern expectantly. Mineral herbs, magical beasts, geology, and humanities, these are all things that must be learned. Fern is very satisfied with Will, however, these are very time-consuming and cannot be learned in a short time. At that time, the Zero Potion Academy will teach you more comprehensively, and what you need to learn most now is. Fern gave it away. Yes? As Fern thought, Will swallowed and looked at him nervously. Languages. Ah. Although it had been expected, Will still felt a headache. The textbooks in Zero Potion Academy are all written in the Holy Empire language. If you don't understand the Holy Empire language, you can't even read the books. Fern explained. Fern's words reminded Will of the books he bought for 5,800 gold coins. In the end, because he couldn't understand the characters of the Holy Empire, until now, Will hadn't read them. Students in Zero Potion Academy include not only people from the Cairo Empire, but also people from the Latoya Empire and the Amona Empire. If you don't understand the languages of those two countries, it will be difficult to communicate with your classmates, and even more so. No more friends. What Fran said made sense. But Will felt nothing but a shudder. You mean, you want me to learn the Holy Empire language, the Littorian Empire language, and the Amona Empire language within a year? Will looked at Fern speechlessly. There is also the common language of the three countries. Fern added another language. You might as well let me die. In Will's previous life, he just learned a foreign language. From the 3rd grade of elementary school to the 4 years of college, he was tortured for 13 years. In the end, even the 4th level was barely passed. Now, let him learn 4 languages in just 1 year? I know this request is a bit too much. Fern patted Will on the shoulder to comfort him. Somewhat? Will, you are someone who wants to become a wizard. How can such a small difficulty defeat you? You must know that every outstanding wizard can't speak dozens of languages. At this moment, Will actually had the idea of giving up becoming a wizard. I've already completed the admission procedures for Nice College for you, and the courses have also been completed for you. Denise is waiting for you outside the door. Go. Fern said with a smile. I take my leave first. With a heavy heart, Will came to the gate of Furlong Manor. Outside the gate, a luxurious carriage was parked. Master Will, please get in the car. The groom opened the car door. Where's Denise? Will noticed that there was no one in the carriage. Miss Denise has already taken a step ahead. The groom looked at Will with strange eyes. The news of Will and Denise's engagement has already spread. But only those in the Fran family knew that the relationship between Denise and Will was very bad. Everyone couldn't understand, Lord Fern, why did Miss Denise be betrothed to Will, the son of a baron? Just because the strength is slightly stronger? In the city of Thrall, there are many people with stronger strength, talent, and family background than Will. It is natural that these people do not understand. Because they don't know about wizards. As for Will's strength, he only broke Dam's limbs. Rumor has it that he is a powerful knight. That's all. An 18-year-old knight is quite outstanding. But compared with the knight who is also 18 years old, but his worth and appearance are far higher than Will? The carriage took Will to the suburbs. Half an hour later, the carriage drove into a simple and tall gate. He stopped in front of a 3-story luxury building. A well-dressed man is already guarding there. Master Will, please follow me. Led by his entourage, Will came to the vice principal's office, where an old lady with gold-rimmed glasses sat. Master Martha, they have brought it here. The entourage exits the room and closes the door. You are Will? Vice Principal Martha looked at Will with scrutiny. Will pulled up a chair and sat down. Nice to meet you, Lord Martha. The Vice Principal, Martha, didn't say much, and handed Will a form directly. This is the curriculum that Principal Fern has formulated for you. Take a good look at it. If you have any opinions, don't speak up, I won't bother. Martha looked cold. Will glanced at the schedule, his face suddenly turned ugly. Holy Imperial Language, Ledoic Imperial Language, Amundian Imperial Language, Common Language, the Development and History of Language, the Role of Language, Language. Snapped. Will dropped the schedule. There will be a Holy Imperial Language course next, and the teaching materials have been prepared for you. You can go directly to the classroom. After finishing speaking, Martha ignored Will and buried her head in the document in front of her. Thank you, Lord Martha. Will turned and walked towards the door. Denise's parents are my good friends. Denise is like my own daughter. Don't treat her badly. Martha's voice sounded a little threatening. Will looked back to see that Martha was buried in the papers, not looking at him at all. The words just now were like hallucinations. Come to the door of the classroom. The teacher hasn't arrived yet. Listening to the noisy voice from inside, Will showed a nostalgic smile. How long have you not felt this atmosphere? In the province of Doria, there are also colleges. But the college is too far away, and the price is too expensive. Will can't afford to go. Open the door. Will walked in. In an instant, all sounds disappeared. 20 pairs of curious eyes watched Will. Brother Will? Under the stage, a beautiful and lovely girl stood up in surprise. Elsa? Are you here too? Brother Will. Elsa rushed towards Will, trying to throw herself into Will's arms, but held back in the end. I heard that you and Miss Denise are engaged? Elsa asked in a mosquito-like voice. Don't worry, you will always be my good sister. Why doesn't Will know Elsa's feelings for him? It's just that Will and Elsa are not people from two worlds at all. For the sake of Elsa, it's better for them not to have too deep intersection. Yes, is it? Elsa's voice choked up, and her eyes almost stayed. I'm going out to touch up my makeup. Elsa covered her eyes and ran out of the classroom. Well, Will doesn't go out after Elsa. The so-called love is really heartbreaking and helpless. Will has no love for Elsa. To be correct, Will only has love for Naya. Other women, but because of desire. Will be kind to them and will give them a happy life unimaginable by ordinary people, but only love is destined not to be obtained from Will. Will is destined to be unable to respond to Elsa's feelings, so the long-term pain is worse than the short-term pain. You really don't deserve Denise. An angry growl came from behind Will. A tall and handsome man stood up from his seat, his eyes stabbed sharply at Will, as if piercing two holes in Will's body. It's Tony. Tony finally stood up. There's a good show to watch. From the whispers of others, Will knew that Tony was Denise's suitor, a member of Viscount Oliver's family. Handsome, with an excellent family background and powerful strength, he is the dream male god in the hearts of countless women. Will glanced at Tony and took the empty seat. You. Seeing that Will ignored him, the anger in Tony's heart grew even stronger. Boom. Will's table is split open by Tony's kick. I'm in a bad mood right now, can you get out? Will stared at Tony with cold eyes. Huh? Tony was about to laugh out loud. Moment. Will jumped up and kicked Tony in the stomach. Whoa. Tony flew out vomiting blood, his body hung on the blackboard and lost consciousness. What? People around looked at Will in shock. Tony was a knight 2 years ago. It's a sneak attack, how despicable. So handsome. Chapter 66. Half-year later. In the backyard, an old man with grey hair was holding a pair of small scissors, trimming branches. A handsome young man with flaxen hair, brown pupils and a blindfold on his left eye, who looked only 15 or 16 years old, stood respectfully behind the old man. Grandpa Fern, what do you want from me? In half a year, Will has grown too much. His mental strength has grown to the limit of the current meditation method, reaching the peak of a second-class wizard apprentice. Will could clearly feel that there was a thin film between his body and the left-eyed demon. As long as you use a little mental power, you can pierce this membrane, draw out the magic power in the demon seed, use it to wash your body, further strengthen your body, and at the same time make your body adapt to the magic power. But channeling magic is not so easy. It requires special skills and medicine assistance, and these things can only be learned at the Jalo School of Potions. Of course, in the past 6 months, in addition to mental power, Will's strength has also been greatly increased. The first is marksmanship, hammering, legwork, footwork, horsemanship, and other skills. Will used his spare time to learn all the skills he could learn, and all of them were upgraded to level 5. Now Will can be said to be proficient in all kinds of martial arts. In addition to the improvement of skills, the most important improvement is strength. When the demon seed erodes the body, it will also strengthen the body. Previously, Will's mental power was not enough to control the demon seed, and his body instinctively suppressed the demon seed, resulting in the strengthening effect of the demon seed not being displayed. How can I say that Will's demon seed also has extremely pure dragon blood? For the strengthening of the body, it must be above the ground bare. When Will's mental power is strong enough, the power stored in his body can finally be fully stimulated. Now, Will can lift 15,000 kilograms. Regardless of the fact that the strength has only increased by 5 levels, the combat power has multiplied several times. The relationship between strength and combat effectiveness is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Calculations are very complex. It's a bit like the 100-meter long-distance race in the previous life. The gap between the top runners is often only 0.1–0.2 seconds. One more second, that is already crushing by absolute strength. If I meet the 4-armed ghost ape king again, I can easily defeat him now. If the strength shown by Lipe is everything, my current strength is about the same as Lipe's. Will is just a first-class wizard apprentice, and his strength is comparable to that of a third-class wizard apprentice. Will, it's been half a year, how is your meditation method going? Fern asked. I can already feel the membrane of the demon species. Will had already slowed down his cultivation speed, but Fern was still taken aback. Your current mental strength has reached the upper middle level of a first-class apprentice, and it only takes 1 more year to reach the peak of a first-class apprentice. Fern was very pleased. It's all about your guidance. Will didn't mean to be flattering. Fern really helped him a lot. Rep and Fern, the guides on Will's wizarding road, played almost equal roles. If he hadn't met these two people, Will couldn't imagine what his future would be like. Jello Potion Academy has news. Fern smiled. Real? Will said excitedly. He had waited too long for this day. 5 months later, school will officially start. 5 months? 5 months is not too long. Fern sighed. Will, do you remember? I said before that because you transplanted the demon seeds in advance, there will be some trouble. Could it be? Will's expression changed. Jello Potion Academy theoretically only recruits people who have transplanted their school's magic seeds. Those who accidentally transplanted magic seeds like you need to go through the test. What kind of test? Personally hunt 10 trolls and hand over 10 troll hearts. Is that the tall troll, also known as the ogre, with thick skin and the strength of a great knight? Will's eyes lit up. I believe that with your strength, this matter will be easily accomplished. Fern smiled. No problem. For Will now, the troll's strength is just that. However, if you want to get the troll's heart, it is still a bit troublesome if you are alone. Fern frowned. Kill the troll and dig out the heart? What's the trouble? Will asked suspiciously. The troll's heart needs to be preserved and used to make medicinal materials, which requires special skills and drug treatment. Fern explained. Then what to do? Will believed that Fern must have figured out a way. It just so happens that Denise has a little bit of experience in this regard, and you can act together to deepen your relationship. Fern looked at Will with some dissatisfaction. You two have already been engaged, but I heard that you haven't married yet. With Denise? Because there have been a lot of things in the past 6 months. In the past 6 months, Will's courses have been arranged very closely. From morning to night, there is no time to spare. Even to practice meditation, Will had to make time for it. Correspondingly, the effect is also very large. For the 4 languages I have learned, I can communicate in a simple way, and I can also understand some less complicated books. If divided into grades, the level is about the same as the set 6 in the previous life. Sure enough, people's potential is squeezed out. Will sighed this sentence more than once. I know about Denise, but I hope you can get Denise pregnant within the next 5 months, no problem? Fern said bluntly. As much as possible. Will could easily have slept with Denise if he wanted to. Although Denise won't resist, Denise will definitely sneer at Will while doing it. Just thinking of that scene made Will feel very disappointed. I've handed over the specific arrangement to Denise. You can discuss it with her. Fern's eyes indicated that Will could leave. I'm going to find Denise right now. Remember, you only have 5 months. Will froze, turned, and left the backyard. It's been a long time, and I haven't heard Fern's cold voice. Will sighed in his heart, it seems that I can't do it. If he didn't successfully get Denise pregnant, Fern would have 100 ways to prevent him from entering the Gerald Potions Academy. Will is indeed very strong now, he has the fighting power of a third-class apprentice at the level of a first-class apprentice. But if you can't get into Geluo Potion Academy, you can't learn more advanced cultivation methods, and you won't be able to advance to the realm of third-class wizard apprentice before the age of 30. Will die. Go to Denise's room. In the room, there was a happy fight. Will pushed the door open and walked in. Brother Will. Leia rushed into Will's arms. Will picked up Leia, and kissed Leia's lovely face a few times. Ha, itchy, itchy, ha ha ha. Leia smiled softly in Will's arms. Leia and Will have a much better relationship than Denise. Your sister and I have something to talk about, go out and play, and I'll take you to eat cake later. Will coaxed Leia out. After Leia left, the smile on Denise's face disappeared in an instant. I've already made arrangements for the troll's heart, and we'll be leaving in 3 days. Denise pointed at the door, if you're okay, please leave here, and don't pollute the air in my room. You have to have a baby in 5 months, you know that? Will watched Denise's reaction. So what? Denise glared at Will fiercely. No solution anymore. Will picked up Denise and threw Denise onto the bed amidst Denise's screams. Tear. Denise's clothes were torn apart by Will, revealing the body underneath. Chapter 67. Denise stopped screaming or crying, but just stared at Will coldly. What do you mean? Will said angrily. Hee, don't you want my body? Don't you want me to be pregnant with your child? Why don't you come? Denise looked at Will mockingly. To you guys, the so-called women are just tools, and the so-called love is just a phantom. For the sake of strength and blood, you can abandon everything. Denise said in a superior tone. Will froze. Don't take my kindness for granted. Whether it's your love or your body, it's completely meaningless to me. Yet, like you. If you want to resist, why don't you just go to Fern? He is the root of everything. Will stared at Denise indifferently, it's interesting to put yourself in the position of the weak and think you have seen through everything. Var? As he got to know Denise better and her essence deeper, Will gradually understood. Denise, just a thoughtless puppet. It seems to be resisting, but in fact it has always been hurting others and satisfying itself with the kindness of others. There is a beautiful body in the air, but the inside is really sad. Will shook his head and walked out of Denise's room. Well. Leaning against the railing outside the door, Will stared at the blue sky speechlessly. Will never pushes women. And Denise? When they first met, Will was indeed amazed by Denise's appearance and temperament. But that's all. Denise, I've given you time. If you don't take action and control your own destiny, don't blame me. If you don't even want to resist yourself, what's the use of showing more mercy? After solving the troll heart problem, will give Denise another chance. If Denise still has this mentality. After all, if you only look at the appearance, Denise is indeed very beautiful, and her figure is also the hottest level Will has ever seen. Big brother, take me to eat cake. Leia cutely tugged at the corner of Will's clothes. When you grow up, don't become someone like your sister. Will gently stroked Leia's head. Why? Elder sister treats me very well? Leia asked puzzledly, tilting her head. Haha, you'll know later. Will pulled Leia's hand, go, I'll take you to eat cake. I want to eat Sophia's cottage. Okay, it's all up to you. Looking at Leia's innocent smile, Will felt as if his heart had been washed and purified, and the depression in his heart disappeared immediately. Will pulled Leia into the carriage, and the carriage drove towards the street. Denise's door opened. Denise stood naked at the door, her eyes were fixed on the carriage leaving Fran Manor, her lips were pursed, her eyes were complicated. Early summer. The sun is darkening. Crunch crunch. A luxurious carriage pulled by 5 horses was galloping on the dirt road. The carriage is like a small fort. There were 7 people sitting inside, and it didn't look crowded in the wide carriage. My uncle March is the leader of the Spike Fang Adventure Group, with the strength of a great knight. Tony raised his chin proudly, the Spike Fang Adventure Group is also the top adventure group in a Mark City. There are 3 great knight. Wow, that's amazing. Among the 7 people, a girl with fiery short hair and a hot figure stared at Tony longingly. As Tony spoke, various exclamations kept coming out of his mouth. The other boy, who looked a bit ordinary and dressed, had been watching the red-haired girl affectionately. When he looked at Tony, there was deep resentment in his eyes. Tony paid no heed to the red-haired girl's flattery. Tony's heart has always been on the most beautiful girl in the carriage. Denise. Only. Tony gritted his teeth, looked at Will sitting beside Denise with fiery eyes, and clenched his hands. There were 4 men and 3 women sitting in the carriage, a total of 7 people. These 7 people were none other than Will and his party heading to Yumak City in Parasua Province. In order to complete the test given by the Jalo School of Potions and obtain 10 troll hearts, Will and Denise decided to go to the habitat of trolls Parasua Province. Parasua Province, adjacent to Kana Province, is the largest province in the Cairo Empire, and the area of one province is equivalent to 3 ordinary provinces. Contrary to its huge size, the population of Parasua Province is very small. This is because the province of Parasua is densely covered with jungles, full of monsters, and inhabited by thousands of trolls. It is a forbidden place for human beings. At the same time, it is also a province of adventure. Countless strongmen adventurers gather in Parasua Province. And the city of Yumak that Will and his party are about to go to is the largest city in the province of Parasua, with a huge population of 100,000. Originally in Will's plan, he acted with Denise. But Tony didn't know where he got the news that Will and the others were going to Yumak City, so he just joined in and brought a few partners. A girl with short red hair, named Hibble, is Tony's nympho. The boy who looks ordinary and is looking at Zibble affectionately, named Maud, is a quasi-knight. The long-haired quiet girl who has been reading a book in the corner is Phyllis. And leaning against the door of the carriage, the man in armor was Tony's guard, Knight Brooke. Including Will and Denise, there are 7 people in total. Along the way, Tony kept bragging about how powerful his uncle was, and told various stories about Amark City that he had heard from his uncle. And all of this was to attract Denise's attention. Tony stared at Will angrily. He will never forget the scene of being kicked away by Will half a year ago. Since then, he has become the laughingstock of Nisan Academy. Many people thought that it was Will's sneak attack, and that Will's invincibility was invincible. Only Tony, the person involved, knows that Will's strength is far above him. Therefore, in the past 6 months, Tony has practiced hard, and even went to Yumak City many times to take risks with his uncle March. Tony's current strength has risen from the elementary knight level half a year ago to the intermediate knight level. Hey, you who have been studying at Nice Academy and haven't practiced knight training at all, are you still my opponent? Tony looked at Will with a sneer. Tony has been paying attention to Will's movements. To Tony's disappointment, Will has been studying from morning to night for half a year. What I learned is still the most useless linguistics. Wait, I'll surprise you. Tony can already imagine the scene where he will shine in the next adventure, trample Will under his feet, make Denise look sideways, and take the initiative to throw himself into his arms. Chapter 68. Miss Denise, I don't know what you are going to do in Amark City? Tony stared straight at Denise. I have been to Amark City once or twice a year since I was 7 years old. In terms of familiarity with Amark City, I am no less than an adventurer who has lived there for a long time, and my uncle is the leader of one of the largest adventure groups in Amark City, the Wolf Fang Adventure Group. If you need help, just mention it. You don't need to bother Master Tony. Will flatly rejected Tony's proposal. I'm talking to Miss Denise, what are you talking about? Tony glared at Will. After his strength improved, not only was Tony no longer afraid of Will, but he provoked Will everywhere, wanting to fight Will again. This time, Will must be defeated openly. We need 10 troll hearts, I wonder if you can do it? Will laughed. Since you want to help, Will doesn't mind either. 10 troll hearts? Why didn't you say you want a giant dragon? Tony's face was full of veins. The troll has the strength of a great knight, with rough skin and thick flesh, and great strength. Due to the low IQ of trolls, they are not as good as humans. In a one-on-one duel with a great human knight, it is not difficult to defeat the troll, but the difficulty of defeating and killing them are completely different. Most of the trolls live in deep mountains and dense forests, where there are countless monsters, poisonous insects, and swamp traps. Who would dare to chase the fleeing troll into the dense forest? Killing a troll is an extremely challenging task for the Spike Fang Adventure Group. Let alone 10 heads. From Tony's point of view, Will was deliberately threatening him and disgusting him. Tony glanced at Denise, resisting the urge to act immediately. For Denise's sake, let me let you go today. Tony stared at Will coldly. Next time you dare to talk to me like that, my sword won't recognize anyone. Tony stopped talking. There was a sudden silence in the carriage. The carriage carried 7 people with different intentions, galloping all the way to a Mark city. Along the way, they encountered many robbers and beasts, but they all died under the angry Tony. Once again defeated a group of robbers who attacked. Tony looked at Will proudly, and found that Will kept his eyes closed and rested, not looking at him at all, which made him feel as if he had punched the cotton with a punch, which was very uncomfortable. He knows he can't compare to me, he just escaped. Tony looked at Denise. Denise lowered her head, intertwined her fingers, and her eyes were complicated. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she was just looking at him. Denise must have been overwhelmed by my charm, and she was torn between whether to choose me or that boy Will. As long as I work harder, Denise will definitely kick Will away and join me. Embrace. Tony could only comfort himself in this way. Master Tony, you are amazing. The red-haired girl Sybil stared at Tony in a nympho. The young Maud clenched his fists tightly and swore silently in his heart, Tony, I will definitely surpass you, Hibble, I will definitely impress you. The long-haired, quiet girl, Phyllis, was reading a book in the corner of the carriage as usual. After a 10-day journey, the city of Amark was near. In front of them, an ancient city wall appeared. The dried blood on the city wall and the hideous battle scars showed the thickness of history to everyone. City Gate. Adventurers wearing leather armor came in and out, as well as merchants pulling in and out of carriages. Along the way, Will sees fruitful, smiling people. I saw people with heavy losses and expressions of grief and indignation. I saw a man who was seriously injured and screamed on a stretcher. See. Noise, screams, joy, all kinds of sounds mixed together discordantly, making people feel depressed. Faced with this unprecedented tragedy. In the carriage, only Tony remained normal, while the expressions of the other 6 people all changed to varying degrees. The red-haired girl Sybil, with a pale face, was obviously frightened. The young Maud looked excited and couldn't wait to join the adventurers. The quiet girl Phyllis stared expectantly at the city of Amark, as if there was something attractive inside. Denise looked at Will, her eyes twinkling. And Will. In this hellish scene, people seek opportunities in danger, and use their lives to fight various ferocious beasts in exchange for a little gold coins. Will looked at the people coming and going outside the car with sad eyes. This world needs to be changed, and human beings shouldn't live in such sorrow. The carriage drove into Amark city. The luxurious carriage attracts the attention of all adventurers. Another group of young masters have come to take risks. Hey, I don't know what's interesting this time? This is not a place to play. The adventurers stared at the carriage that Will and his party rode in with indifference, hostility, or anticipation. Appeal to. The carriage stopped. Arrive. Tony jumped first. Tony, long time no see. A heroic voice resounded like thunder, and Will and his party in the carriage were all shaken with tinnitus. A man as strong as a bear with 3 hideous scars on his face hugged Tony. Uncle March, long time no see. Tony smiled. This bold and strong man is Tony's uncle, the leader of the Spike Adventure Group, the Great Night March. The people in the carriage got out of the carriage one by one. Miss Denise, are you here too? I wonder how Master Fern is doing now? March gave a knight salute to Denise. Grandpa is in good health. Don't worry about it. Denise calmly accepted the knight's gift. Let's go to our Spike Adventure Group and take a good look. There were 7 people in Will's party. Except for Tony and Denise, March didn't even look at the other 5. Will was not surprised by this, nor did he care. I want to go to the library in Amark City. I heard that there are the most abundant herbs for warcraft and books related to adventurers. Phyllis politely rejected March's offer. Is there such a thing? Will knew for the first time. Will came to Mark City just to get 10 troll hearts, and it has been planned for this goal all along. I never thought that there is such a library in the city of Yamak. I'm also very interested in books on warcraft medicine, how about we go together? Will suggested. Knowledge can never be too much. With the strengthening of mental strength, Will's energy became more vigorous, his concentration became better, and his memory was also significantly improved. This is why Will was able to learn 4 languages in just half a year. I heard that, Master Will, you have a deep understanding of linguistics? If you encounter something you don't understand, I may trouble you. Phyllis said. Haha, what a joke. Will looked at Denise, what are you going to do? Denise hesitated for a moment, and approached the Wolf Fang Adventure Group. I am more interested in the Adventure Group, and I also want to visit the Wolf Fang Adventure Group, so I won't go with you. Yet? Will is non-committal. Since Denise doesn't want to go, you can play slowly by yourself. Isn't there a beautiful woman named Phyllis with you? Tony stood between Will and Denise, looking at with Will. Denise, it's okay to meet at the Antai Hotel in Yamak City Middle Street in the evening, right? Okay. Don't forget. Will took a deep look at Denise, turned around and walked towards the library with Phyllis. Chapter 69. On Friday, the book will hit shelves. This book also has 200,000 words, and it is indispensable for the support of readers to make it to this day. I would like to bow and thank you in advance. 5 shifts on the first day of release, and 3 shifts a day for the next 6 days. Handicapped, get off work at 9 o'clock every night, typing so many characters is already the limit, sorry. If the results are slightly better, the number of days will be increased as appropriate. If you like this book, I hope to subscribe, collect, and recommend it. Finally, Hexy would like to thank you all for your support. Chapter 70. Put down the heavy books in your hands and put them back on the bookshelf. Will looked up out of the window. The sun was already westward, and the last afterglow reflected the earth. Ah! Will stretched his waist, unconsciously. The day has passed, and the feeling of swimming in the ocean of books is really comfortable. The library of Amark City is indeed very complete in terms of books on Warcraft medicinal materials. Will would really like to stay here for a month if he hadn't been busy. Phyllis, let's have dinner together. Will invited Phyllis. Aren't you still going to accompany your fiancé? I remember it was at the Antai Hotel in Zongja, right? Phyllis laughed. Your memory is really good. Will shrugged, then I'll take you back. For a beautiful woman like you, it's not safe to walk alone in this city. All around, eyes full of desire fell on Phyllis. Phyllis's appearance is not as stunning as Denise's, and her figure is not as hot as Hybel's, but she is more attractive, exuding an elegant and peaceful atmosphere. A perfect candidate for a wife. No, the person who picked me up has arrived. Will followed Phyllis' gaze and found a carriage parked there. Miss Phyllis, please get in the car. See you tomorrow. Phyllis nodded to Will, got into the carriage and disappeared into the distance. Looking away, Will stopped a car casually. Take me to Antai Hotel. Okay. When Will came to Antai Hotel, it was completely dark. People come and go on the road. You can see beautiful girls with revealing heavy makeup everywhere, adventurers who smell of alcohol, passers-by with cold eyes and hurrying. He got out of the carriage, paid the money, and the carriage drove away. Will stands in front of the Antai Hotel. There were chaotic and noisy voices in the hotel, and as soon as you approached, you could smell a strong smell of alcohol. He raised his leg and walked in. Turning his eyes, he immediately spotted Denise in the corner. Denise's beauty, like the most dazzling beam of light in the hotel, attracted countless flies. All the rude and alcohol-smelling strong men surrounded Denise, spitting out vulgar words constantly, and some even wanted to touch Denise, but Denise avoided them in disgust. Will walked over quickly. Why didn't you book a private room? Antai Hotel is the largest and most expensive hotel in Yamak City. Every night, Antai Hotel is full. Only in the lobby. The private rooms in Antai Hotel are very expensive, and ordinary adventurers cannot afford that money. Hey, boy, do you know that first come, first served? A few drunks reeking of alcohol surrounded Will with unfriendly eyes. She is my friend, we have something to talk about, please leave, Will said. Hey? You said that you are friends or friends? The drunk laughed loudly. Everyone here, which one of us is not a friend? Don't disturb our fun with the beautiful women, go away. With that said, more than a dozen people surrounded Will and pushed Will towards the hotel door. Don't get in the way. White light was shining on Will. Night? The faces of the drunks around him changed. Nights are nothing in Amark City. In this hall, there are nearly 10 knights. But teenage knights? Which genius like this doesn't have a profound background? Which one is not the noble young master? They can't afford it. After dismissing the drunks around him, Will sat down next to Denise. It's pretty early. Will thought Denise would be late and he would have to wait a long time. Denise didn't speak, just drank the wine sullenly by herself. No wonder there are so many people around you. This kind of sullen girl drinking alone in the hotel lobby is the favorite of men in this kind of place. Will didn't ask for boredom, filled up the wine, ordered a few dishes, and drank it on his own. Half an hour. A man with a black hood and cloak came in and approached the table where Will was sitting. There seemed to be a thin mist covering the man's body, but no one noticed him along the way. Even Will didn't realize it until the man was 1 meter closer to him. You are Will? The man asked in a low voice. You are the emissary of the academy? Will stood up and greeted respectfully. The man took out a piece of yellowed cloth from his arms. This is my address, I will be here for the next month, 10 hearts, don't forget. Didn't it say there are 3 months? Will's expression changed. I'll only stay for a month, the man said again. But isn't it finished? No, within a month, I will definitely deliver 10 hearts to you. Will asked again, I don't know how to deal with hearts, so I brought someone with me, okay? I only need 10 hearts. After finishing speaking, the man in the hood and cloak walked out of the hotel like a phantom, as if it never existed. Will was relieved until he couldn't see the man's back. That man should be a third-class wizard apprentice? I don't know how strong he is. In Will's heart, there was an idea of wanting to fight with the opponent. Soon, this thought was suppressed. Address? What the man in the cloak gave Will was a slapped rag with oil stains on it. Nothing on the rags. Is it another trick? Will concentrated his mental strength, and the words on the rag slowly appeared. Address, time, password. The words on the rag quickly disappeared, because it is not a spiritually sensitive material. Can't the words written with spiritual power be preserved for a long time? Will once again confirmed that the other party was definitely a third-class wizard apprentice. Being able to write on rags with mental power, whether it is the strength of mental power or the control over mental power, is not something that I can match now. Will's positioning of his own strength is still very clear. However, mental strength is of little use in a frontal battle. My physical strength is much stronger than that of an ordinary third-class wizard apprentice, and it's not that I don't have the strength to fight. But Will's confidence in himself has dropped significantly. It's just a frontal combat ability. A third-class wizard apprentice may have other abilities. Just like just now, the man approached Will silently. If the man attacked suddenly, Will might be seriously injured or even die on the spot. Will closed his eyes, carefully recalling the scenes since the man appeared. Will was surprised to find that the moment the man stepped into the hotel, he saw the man, but for some reason, he ignored the man. This is... A nameless fear gushed out from the depths of my heart. Will, what's wrong? Denise glared dissatisfiedly at Will, who was standing blankly holding a rag. Let's go. Will stuffed the rag into his pocket and walked toward the door. We're not going to wait. In the middle of speaking, Denise thought of Will's strange appearance. Could it be? Denise stopped thinking and followed Will closely. After Will and Denise left, in the hotel lobby, a few people with unfriendly eyes stood up and walked out. Others in the hotel are used to this kind of thing. Chapter 71. In the province of Parasu, there are many towering ancient trees, and places that are rare among people are everywhere. In a short ditch 40 kilometers away from Riamark city, 2 figures were lying on their stomachs. A man and a woman, both of them were wearing leather armor, covering every piece of skin on their bodies tightly. His body was covered in mud and smudges, and his face was covered with green plaster. Will, how long are we going to lurk? Denise crushed a few bugs to death with a disgusted expression on her face. Will glanced at the sky. Isn't it only 2 hours? You know it's been 2 hours? Denise stomped her feet. We've been in this dirty ditch for 2 hours. You don't care, don't you think about me? Will picked up the blood-sucking leech from his hand and threw it into his mouth. Click click click. Crush and swallow. Are you disgusting? Seeing Will's actions, Denise almost vomited. My blood cannot be shed in vain. Will felt that several small blood-sucking leeches had actually mixed into the mouth and attached to the esophagus. I advise you not to learn from me. Will controls the peristalsis of the esophagus, and the worms fall into the stomach, where they are digested by the stomach acid. A black snake emerged from the mud and climbed up Denise's call. I can't take it anymore. Denise stood up and strangled the snake on her body to death. This ghost place, you take your time. Enduring her nausea, Denise climbed out of the ditch, leaned on a tree and vomited. The morning's work is in vain. Will sighed. I'm going to take a shower. In this kind of ghost place, it's better not to take off your clothes casually, but to show your skin. Will didn't think this was a good suggestion. Did you forget that you took a bath last time, and you got red spots all over your body? We can boil water. Where did we get the pot? Besides, it's too risky to start a fire rashly just to boil the bath water. I do not care. Denise looked at the hair hanging down her chest. The hair that was originally repaired and smooth was now stuck together dry, and countless tiny bugs could still be seen crawling around inside. It's okay, this kind of bug is harmless to the body. At the end, Will added, at least it's harmless to us. You do not understand. In half a month of adventure career, Denise's reserve as a young lady has completely disappeared. Okay, I know you've worked hard, and I understand your thoughts. In fact, Will couldn't stand it anymore. The last one, as long as you kill one more troll, 10 hearts will be enough. Done. We've been waiting for 5 days. Wait another day, if you don't find it tomorrow, leave immediately, how about it? All right. Denise reluctantly agreed. Will took Denise and switched positions. Considering that Denise couldn't adapt to the ditch, Will changed the location to a boulder on a small hillside. Will held a telescope and kept observing the surrounding dense forest. Let's change places. Denise whispered. Didn't we just come here? Will asked strangely. What I'm saying is that we should go deeper, and there will be no more trolls around. Denise washed her hair with precious water. Haven't you noticed that there are fewer and fewer trolls? If you're quick, we'd already have collected 10 troll hearts. Blame me? In the beginning, the traces of trolls were still easy to spot. It's just that Will kills the troll easily, and Denise is too slow to deal with the troll's heart. Usually only one heart is processed in one day. And once the troll dies for more than a period of time, if the heart does not deal with it in time, it will lose its effect. So, for the first 5 days, there was basically one troll a day. Slowly, there are fewer and fewer trolls, and more time is spent. It took 5 days to find the 10th troll, but they still couldn't find it. More than 20 trolls have died in a row, and the trolls have also become vigilant. It is impossible for there to be any more trolls here, Denise said. Will only needs 10 troll hearts. But it doesn't mean that Will only kills one troll at a time, especially when he finds out that killing trolls also has source power. Will starts killing trolls. Each troll has 15 points of source power. How can I let it go for nothing? Will has a little idea of the source of source power. Denise glanced at Will strangely, and continued, your strength is very strong, and you can go a little deeper. Denise hates Will. But I have to admit that Will is very strong, to an unimaginable level. A troll at the level of a Grand Knight is vulnerable in front of Will. The most time, Will actually fought against 5 trolls at the same time, and defeated them, and seeing Will's relaxed appearance, it was obvious that he didn't try his best. Will thought about it, then shook his head. No, it's too dangerous. Will remembered the tragedy of the year. If you can't find the troll today, you can change the place tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you spend more time, as long as you don't go deep. You coward! Denise sneered. You won't understand. Will didn't want to explain too much. Until now, Will still deeply remembers what happened that day. The 4-armed ghost ape, who was originally thought to be weak, will eventually appear with a monster with terrifying power from the Ape King, and finally will appear. The trolls are much more powerful than the 4-armed ghost ape, and their numbers are far greater than the 4-armed ghost ape. Palaesoa province is not so much the territory of humans as it is the territory of trolls. The troll is so active, but it has not been eliminated so far. The strength hidden behind it may be far beyond that of the 4-armed ghost ape. Will took a telescope, hid behind the rock pile, and carefully observed the surroundings. Denise was sitting next to Will, complaining constantly, as if she was here for a tourist, without the awareness of being a hunter at all. If it weren't for Denise's unprofessionalism, 10 troll hearts would have been obtained long ago. But Will can't deal with the troll heart and can only rely on Denise. Found it? Will looked in surprise at the 3 grey-black tall figures that appeared in the telescope. Yes? There was also surprise in Denise's eyes that couldn't be concealed. Since she was a young lady who grew up in a honeypot, when did she suffer from this kind of crime? If she stayed any longer, Denise would go crazy. 2.5 kilometers to the southeast. Will touched the target first, followed by Denise. Will's speed is very fast, but Denise can keep up with Will, which shows that Denise's strength is extraordinary. Will stopped a kilometer away from the troll. You wait here, be quiet. After giving Denise a word, Will activated his breath-holding technique and sneaked towards the three trolls. Over the past 3 years, Will has learned several breath-holding exercises, and integrated these exercises into the breath-holding technique. Today, breath-holding has undergone a sea change. Not only can it adjust the heartbeat, but it can also shrink and close the pores, weakening its own sense of existence. When Will was only 10 meters away from the troll still couldn't find Will. These three trolls seem a little different? Will observed carefully, they are wearing leather armor? Are they on patrol? Will didn't think too much, and found a gap to rush up. The three giant night-level trolls were vulnerable in front of Will, whose combat power was comparable to that of a third-class wizard apprentice and who was also sneaking up. It's time to come out. After killing the troll, Will wiped the sweat from his brow, and called Denise not far away. Chapter 72. Yamak City. In a dimly lit room, Will handed a large, half-man-high bag to a man in a black cloak. The man opened the bag and took out a coconut-sized, dark red meatball from the bag. The troll's heart. After special treatment, the troll's heart has shrunk a lot compared to the original. Past. The cloaked man put the troll heart back in the bag. Please go back and wait for the notification. Saying that, the cloaked man left the room with his bag on his back. After standing there for a while, Will turned and went out. Outside the door, Denise stood dissatisfied at the door. Hey, is it over? Denise asked impatiently. Will stretched out his waist. Okay, no problem, we can go back. I don't want to stay in this place for a second. Let's go to Tony and the others to say goodbye and return to Sal City immediately, Denise said. I have the same idea. Will is really not used to the atmosphere of a Mark City, a city called Adventure City. To put it better, it is open and free. To make it a little harsher, it has no laws and no morals, and interests are paramount. It is not so much a city of adventurers as it is a den of robbers and thieves. Will stopped a carriage. No, let's walk there. Denise shook her head. You sure? Will gave Denise a meaningful look. Denise is now wearing a light-colored sleeveless hang top on her upper body. The lower body is a white knee-length skirt. Whenever the wind blows, the hem of the skirt flutters, making people want to check it out. Waist-length hair was casually scattered behind her back, exuding the smell of perfume. With a charming smile on his face, coupled with his natural beauty, every man will fall in love with him. It may be that during the first half of the month of troll hunting, she had to wrap her body tightly and airtight every day, which made Denise have a phobia of sealing. After returning to Yamak City, even the mission of the troll heart was put aside. The first thing actually took 10 days to take a shower. Changed into cool clothes. Is there a problem? Denise gently stroked the soft hair beside her ear, and the crystal pendant beside her ear exuded colorful colors under the sunlight. Will quietly looked around, and found that every man passing by was staring at Denise with unfriendly eyes, licking his lips, and his pupils were like the eyes of a poisonous snake. Not only men, but even women can't resist Denise's beauty. Many passing women stared straight at Denise, more directly than men, with expressions of envy, jealousy, and fascination in their eyes. Since you like it, let's go. Will silently calculated the distance from here to the base of the Wolf Fang Adventure Group in his mind, and found that the main road was along the way. Even if you meet Xioxio's generation, as long as he shows his night cultivation a little bit, the opponent will probably retreat in spite of the difficulties. And it's refreshing to be watched with envy and hatred. Now, Will finally has a little understanding of the psychology of those who flaunt their wealth. It's just that it's better not to do this kind of thing. He is a low-key person who doesn't like to make trouble. Along the way, Will chatted with Denise every sentence. But most of the time it was Will who was talking, and Denise would only answer a few words when she was getting annoyed, and most of them would talk back. Slowly, the atmosphere also cooled down. Will originally thought that after more than half a month of dependent adventures, the relationship between the two would be significantly improved. Presumably Fern thought so too, that's why Denise was allowed to accompany Will. Unexpectedly, it was just the opposite. Denise hated Will even more, and her words became more rude. In the past, when Will took the initiative to speak, Denise would turn around and make a sarcasm. But now, even if Will stood obediently, Denise would curse inwardly with sneering words. The two walked awkwardly on the avenue. The envious and jealous eyes of passers-by that made people feel happy, now, in Will's view, are more like mocking. Unknowingly, the atmosphere between Will and Denise cooled down, no one paid attention to the other, and each went their own way. Hey, beauty, do you look bored? 5 men with unkind eyes surrounded Will and Denise. She already has a male companion, let me go. Will tried to push the person out of the way, but was pushed back by the other person. Will glanced around. This is still the main road, and there are not many people coming and going around, but there are also many people. I didn't expect these people to block them blatantly. We still have something to do. As he spoke, Will burst out with a night-level light of life. Generally speaking, those who seek trouble will obediently retreat. A night? Unexpectedly, the other party did not show a scared expression, nor did he intend to leave, but instead looked at Will with mocking eyes. As if to say, a mere knight dares to be so arrogant? Will, how can you be so unreasonable to the uncles? They just want to invite me to play together. Denise said to Will full. That is to say, we just want to make friends with you, young lady. Instead of playing with such a boring man, it must be more fun to be with us. We are familiar with Yamak City. With us as your tour guide, you will definitely have a good time. I found that Denise had an emotional expression on her face. Will was anxious. Hey, Denise, now is not the time to play your temper. Young master, it's better for you to say a few words less. As he said that, the 5 other people also showed the light of life at the night level. At the same time, a dagger was pressed against Will's waist. Are you all knights? Will asked in surprise. Although it has long been known that Amark City is a city of adventure and a paradise for adventurers, 90% of the wandering knights and great knights of the Cairo Empire gather in Amark City. But I never expected that I would meet 5 knights at once. Immediately, Will suddenly realized. Are you the one who followed us half a month ago? Half a month ago, after Will and Denise left the tavern, they were followed by others. Fortunately, Will's anti-tracking technology is good, and he didn't want to cause trouble, so he got rid of those people. Unexpectedly, after returning to Yamak City for 2 days, these people pestered him again. You found out? This is the main road, with so many people around, do you really dare to do it? Will asked. Haha, it really is the noble young master, take a look around. The 5 people laughed loudly. Will looked around. I found that no one came to help, either bypassed, or looked at the show, and many people looked at Will with sinister and smug smiles. As if happy with Will's suffering. Uncle, let's go, ignore that stupid guy. Denise said coquettishly. Okay, we'll take you to play now. Saying that, they left Will and walked forward with Denise. Hey, wait for me. Will chased after him speechlessly. Looking at Will who was catching up behind him, the 5 rogue knights looked at each other, and finally let Will follow behind. It's just that there are disgusting smiles on the corners of everyone's mouths. While walking, the 7 people walked into a remote alley. Uncle, where is this place? Don't you want to take me to play? Denise asked innocently. Hey, the game is about to start, I guarantee you will like it. The hooligans surrounded Will and Denise, licking their lips and laughing disgustingly. Indeed, the game has begun. Denise's eyes were cold. Aren't there more and better solutions? Why choose such a troublesome way? Will pulled out the dark black long sword at his waist. Yo, boy, do you want one to beat all 5 of us? All 5 looked at Will mockingly. Will, don't make a move, they asked me to deal with it. There was a breeze around Denise's waist. Little girl, you said. Tear. Denise swung the sword in her right hand at the knight who was speaking, and an invisible wind blade cut the opponent's throat, blocking the opponent's next words in his stomach. Are you a bloodline? The rest of the knights were shocked. I only know now, it's too late. Denise's figure suddenly accelerated, and at the same time, her body was ignited with a night-level light of life. The 5 powerful night-level slags were helpless in front of Denise, whose strength was comparable to that of a great knight. Chapter 73. In a dark alley, 5 cold human bodies fell to the ground, each of them had their throats torn to death, and their faces were full of hopeless fear. Denise's body was not stained with a trace of blood. How dare you touch me, these scumbags! Denise kicked the dead man on the ground to vent her anger. If they join forces to fight against you, there is no chance of winning. Will regretted. The Grand Knight is not invincible. The strength of an ordinary Great Knight is comparable to that of 3 to 5 knights, especially when Denise herself is seriously lacking in combat experience. Not everyone can keep calm at the moment of life and death, Denise said. It's mainly because they were frightened by the fact that you are a bloodline person. They didn't expect them to know about bloodlineage people? Will said. This is the city of adventurers. There are demon hunters, bloodlinesmen, and wizards. It's not surprising that there are some people who know bloodlines. Denise is very optimistic. That's right. After all, ordinary demon hunters don't deliberately hide their identities. It's just because the number of demon hunters is too small that they appear mysterious. Will nodded. The smell here is too bad, let's leave quickly. Denise covered her nose with her hands and walked out of the alley quickly. After returning to the main road, Will found a few figures who were quickly leaving, and at the same time, everyone looked at them with deep vigilance. It feels like we're famous. Will laughed. The more those scumbags die, the better. Denise snorted coldly. The 5 knights are not weak in the city of Yamak. They did not expect to be killed by 2 young men, Will and Denise. Everyone on the street couldn't believe it. But after knowing that Denise is a bloodline person, her attitude immediately changed. Bloodmen? Same as Lord Burns? It turns out that women are the most powerful. Humph, even if they are of the same blood, they are far behind Lord Burns. Ignoring the gossip of others, Will and Denise walked quickly towards the base of the Spike Adventure Group. This time, no one dared to make trouble. Arriving at the Spike Fang Adventure Group, after an announcement, Will and Denise walked in, led by a guide, and came to the hall. In the hall, the main characters of the Spike Fang Adventure Group were all there. Including 3 great knights, and 15 knights. Did we come at the wrong time? Will asked cautiously. You guys came just in time, sit here. March looked at Denise with kind eyes. I didn't expect you to be a bloodline person, you've hidden it so deeply, I'm afraid I'm not even your opponent, right? What happened more than 10 minutes ago, I didn't expect it to spread to the Wolf Fang Adventure Group so quickly. It is indeed the top 3 adventure group in Yamak City, not to mention the strength, but the speed of intelligence collection alone is not covered. You are too much, compared with Lord March, my combat experience is still too little. Denise may seem humble on the surface, but she is actually extremely arrogant. Another way to put this sentence is when my combat experience catches up, a guy like you is not my opponent at all. March's face changed, but he quickly covered it up. The problem of trolls has been a big issue recently. We are discussing countermeasures. Miss Denise, would you like to listen? March invited Denise. No need, we're here to say goodbye to Tony, and we'll be returning to Sal City tomorrow. Denise said directly. Tony? March's face changed, it's good to have a friend to visit him. I hope Miss Denise can comfort him for me. March summons an escort and takes Will and Denise to Tony's room. What happened? Denise asked the guard. You will know when you go in. The guard opened the door, and a dull breath gushed out from the room. Didn't I say that no one should bother me? In the room, there was a low roar. Tony, is that you? Will and Denise enter the room. Although it was noon now, the whole room was pitch black without a single ray of light. Tony lay pale on a wicker chair, his eyes silently staring at the ceiling, with a desperate expression on his face, without a trace of life. Seeing Tony's shocked look, Denise asked in surprise, Tony, why did you become like this? Half a month ago, when they parted from Tony and his party, Tony was so confident, so proud, with the arrogance unique to young people. But now, despair, powerlessness, decadence. Tony lay decadent on the wicker chair, crunching and shaking gently. Even when his beloved Denise came in front of him, her dull eyes still had no brilliance. Tony, why did you become like this? Denise asked, grabbing Tony's shoulder. Tony's family background was only a little worse than Denise's, and the two were not far behind in age. The two have been playmates since childhood. After growing up a little, Tony immediately showed his love to Denise, and launched a fierce pursuit of Denise. The problem is that Tony is just a normal guy. Fern would never allow Denise to marry Tony. In order to make Tony give up, Denise refused Tony again and again. Stay away from Tony. But in Denise's heart, Tony will always be her good friend. Seeing Tony's depraved look, Denise felt a pain in her heart. Unlike the eager Denise, Will quickly sensed the abnormality and noticed a clue of the matter. Will quietly pulled off the corner of Denise's clothes, and said softly, "Sybil, Maud." A group of 7 people came from Sar City to Yumak City. Brooke is a guard, so it doesn't count. The day after Will and Denise arrived in Yumak City, they separated. After saying goodbye in the library that day, Phyllis got into the carriage and went nowhere. But Hybel and Maud have been following Tony. Hybel is because of his crush on Tony, and Maud is because of his crush on Hybel. Now that the two are not here, it is not difficult to guess the crux of the problem with Tony's decadent appearance. As soon as Will reminded her, Denise immediately reacted. "Tony, where are Hybel and Maud?" Denise asked Tony. They. A cloudy tear slid down Tony's cheek, and the sadness on his thin face was so obvious. "What's wrong with them? Take your time, don't worry." Denise stroked Tony's hair gently. He. Tony burst into tears. "Both of them are dead, killed by trolls, wow." Tony buried his head in Denise's arms and burst into tears. The so-called men don't flick their tears easily, especially in front of the woman they love deeply. No matter what pain or suffering, they have to hold back. But today, all of Tony's reserve and dignity have been abandoned. The death of Hybel and Maud was a huge blow to Tony. Tony, who has been to a Mark City many times, is as familiar with a Mark City as some skilled adventurers. But after all, he is just a noble young master, and everything he does is for fun. He didn't personally participate in the battle of life and death at all, and he didn't experience the pain of the tragic death of the people around him. After suffering and exhausting, Tony finally choked up and told what happened. "I, Hybel, Maud, and 2 knights have been adventuring outside the Abian mountains, killing beasts and collecting experience. On that day, the troll." Chapter 74. Maud was hit by a troll with a hammer in order to save Sybil, and even, almost intact was left behind. Tony's voice choked. "You've tried your best, and it's not your fault." Denise's eyes were also a little red. For Tony, Hybel is his secret love, and Maud is his younger brother who yearns for him. The two followed him to the city of Yumak for adventure, and under his leadership, they went to the edge of the Abian mountains to exercise. What should have been a fulfilling and enjoyable adventure, all changed with the sudden appearance of the troll. "We didn't expect that the troll would appear in such a marginal place." Tony's eyes were unwilling and puzzled. "If it's just a troll, it's no problem for us to retreat unharmed." At that time, Tony's team consisted of 5 people. Tony, Maud, Hybel, and 2 knights from the Spike Adventure group. Tony is a middle-level knight, with good strength and no shortage of actual combat, but he has never experienced a life-and-death battle. Motor's talent is slightly inferior, but he also reached the peak of the Quasi Knight 2 years ago, and he may break through at any time. Don't look at Sybil as a girl, she is not weak. A month ago, Sybil also successfully advanced to the rank of Quasi Knight, otherwise Tony would not have brought Sybil to a Mark City for adventure. A team of 3 knights and 2 Quasi Knights is more than enough to protect themselves against a troll. Could there be other accidents? Denise thought about what happened today. Most of the adventurers in a Mark City are scumbags who are on the edge of morality and law, with interests first and desires first. There are not a few people who hate and envy the Wolf Fang Adventure Group. It is also very possible that someone under the Black Hands. Another troll appeared. Dobbin Knight and Oi Knight sacrificed themselves and bought us precious time to escape. Thinking of what happened next, Tony's expression became ugly again. "Then why didn't you escape?" Denise thought of Hybel. From Tony's words, Denise knew that Maud died to save Hybel. I. Tony clutched his head in pain. "The troll has appeared." "What do you mean? Could it be that the troll killed the 2 knights, Dobin and Oi, and caught up?" Denise asked. "No, it's the 3rd troll." Tony clenched his teeth. "If it wasn't for the 3rd troll, if it wasn't for the death of Hybel and Maud, I abandoned them." Tony spoke intermittently, and his expression was almost crazy. "It's okay, Tony, you are safe now, no one will blame you, you have done your best." Denise gently hugged Tony's head, comforting. "Woo woo woo." Tony wept silently, and the weakest side of the man was exposed in front of the person he loved the most. Denise glared at Will while reassuring Tony. Will is also a little guilty. On the edge of the otherwise safe Abian mountains, trolls appeared, and there were 3 of them at once. It wasn't hard for Will to think of himself. 3 days ago. Will and Denise are still hunting trolls, but after waiting for 5 days, they still haven't seen the shadow of trolls. Then all of a sudden found the trolls, or 3. The actions and equipment of the 3 trolls were different from the previous trolls, and they were obviously out on patrol. What happened to Tony happened 5 days ago. I don't want to either. Will spread his hands innocently. Perhaps, the so-called adventure is like this. Accidents may happen at any time. This is not only the joy of adventure, but also the source of pain. What do you know? Tony stood up angrily, glaring at Will with red eyes. Oops. Will was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect to say what was in his heart. If you haven't seen your relatives and friends die with your own eyes, you won't understand the pain. Tony grabbed Will's shoulders fiercely. Don't make sarcastic remarks to me, I will really kill you. Tony's body glowed with white light, and his fingers dug into Will's skin. I really don't understand. Originally, Will planned to refute a few words. But looking at Tony's angry and sad eyes, Will didn't want to argue with Tony anymore. The ancients said summer insects don't talk about ice. Will finally understood. Maybe sad, maybe happy. For you, it is something you will never forget. And when you say it and want to share the joy and sorrow in your heart with others, I have no waves in my heart and even want to laugh a little. This is the truest portrayal of the human heart. Shut up if you don't understand. Tony raised his fist in Will's face. Will's expressionless expression completely angered Tony. The anger towards Will for half a year finally broke out completely at this moment. People like you, let me die. Stop. Snapped. On Tony's cheek, a 5-finger red mark appeared. Denise? Tony froze. Tony, why did you become like this? You became decadent because of self-blame, and now you want to vent your anger on Will? Denise looked at Tony in disappointment. When did you become so weak? Where is your strength? Where is your sense of responsibility? Every word Denise said pierced Tony's heart like sharp arrows. Tony let go of Will, and the anger faded from his face. Sadness and despair clouded the face again. You must cheer up. People who have died and things that have been lost will not come back. We should look forward. Denise encouraged. But what can I do? Tony's eyes were full of confusion. Work hard to become stronger, avenge Sybil and Maud, such a simple matter, do you still need me to tell you? Denise had a look of hatred. Revenge? There was a gleam of light in Tony's eyes. With me? Can it be done? Sure. But the weakest troll has the strength of a great knight. With your talent, as long as you work hard, you will definitely become a great knight. Denise was full of confidence. Even if it's a great knight. One big knight can't do it, then 2, 3, 4, 10. Establish an adventure group, gather adventurers and become the leader of the largest adventure group in Yamak City. I can really do it. Tony stared blankly at his hands. I believe in you. Denise nodded heavily. But... Tony was still hesitating. Tony, what you look like is so disappointing. Tony's uncle, the great knight March, strode in. Uncle, why are you here? Tony originally thought that March had given up on him. Tony, isn't Denise's encouragement and trust enough to regain your confidence? Are you such a weak guy? What do you look like crying in front of the woman you love the most? March reprimanded. Uncle is right. Tony lowered his head in shame, recalling how embarrassed he was crying loudly in front of Denise just now. He wanted to die. Look at you, you're all skinny like this. Machi waved his hand, and several attendants came in with food. It's delicious, eat big mouthfuls. Next, I have some good news to tell you, you can't do it if you don't have enough strength. Tony looked at March suspiciously, and then at Denise. Think for a while. As if some important decision had been made, Tony sat down on the table and began to eat with big mouthfuls. Weep while eating. Chapter 75. Tony was full of wine and food, and after taking a bath and changing clothes, his decadent look was gone. The conference room of the Wolf Fang Adventure Group. In the huge conference room, there were only Will, Denise, Tony and March. Uncle, what are you talking about? Although Tony has regained his strength, at the moment he only has hatred and anger towards the troll in his heart. For him now, nothing is good. Sybil was caught by the troll, right? You didn't see her die, did you? March asked. Is there any difference? Tony's face was gloomy and difficult. Sometimes trolls don't immediately kill the living people they catch, but bring them back to their lair, especially at this time. March explained. Tony closed his eyes and took a long breath. It will only cause more pain. Has your arrogance just now disappeared? March's eyes were sharp. This matter has nothing to do with it, isn't what I'm talking about. Suddenly, Tony's eyes lit up. Uncle March, what do you mean? Tony looked at March in disbelief. You already guessed it. March looked at Tony encouragingly. Under March's encouraging eyes, Tony finally expressed his thoughts. We're going to go deep into the troll's lair and save Sybil. Yes. Really? Tony stood up suddenly. Uncle March, you didn't lie to me, did you? With only a few of them, it is impossible to go deep into the troll's lair to rescue Sybil. Unless... Did the rest of the Wolf Fang adventure group agree? Tony looked at March expectantly. Although Ma Chi is the leader of the Spike adventure group, he does not speak his mind and has no absolute rights. Ma Chi and the other two great knights in the Spike adventure group lived on an equal footing. It is absolutely impossible for two other great knights to risk their lives to break into the troll's lair for a person they have known for less than a month without being motivated by profit. We were discussing this matter just now. This is a decision made by all of our Spike adventure group. March said with a smile. Ma keywords made Tony ecstatic. But the next moment, Tony was puzzled. Uncle March, how much did you pay? Tony asked puzzled. If you want to invite two big knights to go on a narrow escape adventure, the price is not usually expensive. Even if the entire Oliver family bears the price, there will be a lot of bleeding. Do you think our ambition is only to rescue Sybil? March's ambition gradually revealed. You mean? Kill the troll leader. March waved his hand heavily. As long as we succeed, we will immediately become the #1 adventure group in Yamak City. Are you sure? Tony was shocked by March's generosity. 30%. For this kind of mission that can be called S-level, once it is completed, it will immediately become the mission of the strongest adventure group. The 30% certainty is already a very high success rate. Uncle March, what's going on? Why are you going to attack the troll leader all of a sudden? At this point, it would be foolish for Tony to simply think that March was out to avenge him. It is extremely difficult to become the strongest adventure group, especially when the leader of the strongest adventure group is Burns. March explained the beginning of the matter. Our goal has always been the #1 adventure group. That was the dream of our Wolf Fang adventure group when it was established, and it has not changed in the past 30 years. However, it is too difficult to defeat Burns and win the title of #1. Since the strength cannot be surpassed, the only way is to find a way based on merit. So you're targeting the troll leader? Tony interjected. That's right. March nodded. Only by killing the troll leader can we ignore the gap in strength, ascend to the #1 throne, be respected by all adventurers, and be sung by bards. Is it possible? Ordinary trolls are already quite powerful knights. Tony instinctively looked down on March and the others. It is rumored that the strength of the troll leader is comparable to that of a paladin. Impossible to kill. Haha, do you think our 30-year plan was for nothing? March raised his chest proudly. 10 days later, it will be the Scarlet Moon. There are 3 moons in this world. Usually, the 3 moons hang above the night sky, but they are all flawed and not perfect. Only once in 10 years does the full moon appear. One of the moons seems to absorb the light of the other 2 moons, turning into the fullest moon in the night sky. When the moon is at its highest point in the sky, it turns red for a few minutes. Hence the name Scarlet Moon. There are various legends about the Scarlet Moon. But Tony thought about it for a long time, and he still didn't know what this operation had to do with the Scarlet Moon. After paying a huge price, we discovered a secret. March's voice sank. Every time the Scarlet Moon comes, the trolls will hold a huge ceremony. What ceremony? Tony asked curiously. We don't know the specific content of the ceremony. We only know that the captured humans will be used as sacrifices, and the strongest troll in the clan will be selected to hold the ceremony. As he said that, March smiled. This ceremony requires a lot of blood, from the blood of troll warriors. Tony's eyes lit up, and he said, by then, the most powerful warriors of the troll clan will be in an extremely weak state? That's right. March nodded heavily. The smile on Tony's face didn't last long. If the ceremony starts, who will be the sacrifice? The sacrifice is at the end of the ceremony. We can kill the troll leader and rescue the captured people, but March sighed, I'm afraid we can only save 1 or 2 people. There is no other way to do this. Being able to rescue Zibble is already a great fortune. Moreover, although this plan is good, it is only 30% certain. If something unexpected happens, let alone saving lives, it is not impossible for the entire army of the Wolf Fang Adventure Group to be wiped out in the Troll's lair. Actually, with your help, the success rate can reach more than 50%. March's eyes suddenly turned to the direction of Will and Denise. You mean Denise? A feeling of absurdity rose in Tony. But gradually, Tony felt that the atmosphere was not right. Denise didn't immediately refute. Denise's eyes seemed to be thinking seriously. Could it be even Will? Tony turned his eyes quickly to Will, and found that Will was surprised, with a trace of fear on his face, as if to say, don't involve me, I don't want to die. So, what Uncle March said was really Denise? Tony asked suspiciously. Denise, your strength is at the level of a great knight, right? March's words roared in Tony's mind like thunder. Tony trembled and almost fell off the chair. What's going on? You're not lying to me, are you? How could Denise be a great knight? Tony and Denise are childhood sweethearts, and they grew up together. Tony had never seen Denise practice night breathing, and Denise herself was not interested in swords. In Tony's impression, Denise was not even as strong as Hibble. Hyber has become a knight a month ago. Now he was told that Denise, whom he had always regarded as a weak woman, actually possessed the strength of a great knight? On the same level as his Uncle March? Are you kidding me? Chapter 76. You're kidding, aren't you? Tony's eyes glazed over. Even if he was told that Will was not a knight, but a great knight, Tony would not lose his composure like this. But Denise? The other party is his childhood sweetheart, his playmate since he was a child, and the goddess he has been secretly in love with for a long time. Tony thought that he knew Denise as well as anyone else. And now? Denise has the strength of a great knight? Becoming a great knight is the dream of every person who practices night breathing. How difficult is it to advance from a knight to a great knight? Machi is already considered a genius, and it was only at the age of 43 that he broke through and became a great knight. In terms of talent, Tony is just a 50-50th split with March. If Tony wanted to become a great knight, he had to be 40 years old anyway. But Denise is only 18 now. An 18-year-old grand knight? Impossible. Tony looked straight at March, and March looked serious, not at all joking. Turning her eyes to Denise, Denise had a calm face, not surprised by March's words at all. Will? Will has a ghostly expression on his face. Uncle March. March interrupted Tony's words. Denise, you have the strength of a knight yourself, plus the power of your blood. Your combat power is no less than that of a great knight, right? After Denise came to Amark City, she only showed her strength not long ago. March, however, knew Denise's power as well as he had seen it with his own eyes. The power of blood? Tony could barely accept Denise as a knight, at least it was more reliable than Denise being a great knight. The question is, what is the power of blood? Tony has lived for more than 20 years and has never heard of such a thing. I'm sorry, Tony. Denise said to Tony apologetically. Night sky. The 3 crescent moons are dotted with stars, hanging above the sky. The bloody red moon that comes once every 10 years is almost here. Gazing at the largest bright moon in the night sky, Will sighed. Will, are you really not going to participate? Denise stroked her hair and stood behind Will. Denise, I advise you not to get involved in this matter, they are doomed to fail. Will said in a deep voice. Why did it fail? Trolls are strong. Will doesn't know what secrets the troll has, whether it has hidden strength, but will never take risks. This world is too deep. The 4-armed ghost ape is only the bottom of the monsters, and it is far from being compared with the trolls. The results of it? Rip is dead. Will has lost his most important mentor. Strong? If this sentence came from someone else, I would believe it. Denise stood beside Will, but with your strength, do you need to be afraid of trolls? You may hate the Spike Adventure Group and don't want to work for the Spike Adventure Group, but you have to think about the people who were taken away by the trolls, the countless civilian adventurers who were hurt by the trolls, and our classmate friend Xi Bell. Denise stared at Will with clear eyes. Will, we need you, your strength, and your help. Silence. Will closed his eyes, the different thoughts in his head were thinking, struggling. After a long time, Will opened his eyes, determined. If it's saving people instead, I can help. Will has made the biggest compromise. Impossible. Denise shook her head. Uncle March and the others have prepared for this purpose for 30 years and sacrificed countless companions in exchange for such important information. Do you think they will change easily? That's your problem. Will. Denise, our task is to collect 10 troll hearts. Our mission to Amark City has been completed, so there is no need to bother about trolls. So what? Pack up, we will leave Yamak City tomorrow. Will said decisively. Denise smiled. The look of you finally showing your true colors. Will, to you, Hibble and Maud, who have known each other for half a year and have been in the carriage for many days, are just insignificant passers-by? Denise sneered. I'm also very sad about the matter of Maud and Zibble. I will make the troll pay a painful price, but it is definitely not now. Will said. You and Grandpa are the same people. I can't understand people like you very well. Denise felt that she had seen through the essence of Will. That's your prejudice. Haha, blood? Power? Wizard? Isn't it everything to you? Denise was extremely disappointed in Will. Friendship, love, and affection are worthless in your eyes. Something to sacrifice. Maybe. Will didn't mean to refute. Some things are useless to talk about. Denise wouldn't believe Will either. I won't leave. I want to join Tony in the crusade against the Troll King. I've made up my mind. I won't be at your mercy anymore. Denise said firmly. You. A long time ago, I also dreamed of love, longing for the kind of feeling that can give everything. Only because of the family relationship, I snuffed the feeling in my heart in the bud. Now, I decided to pick it up again. It's not bad. Choose. Yet. Will doesn't like Denise, and Will doesn't care who Denise likes. You married me, and you want to have a baby with me, isn't it just to get a place in the Zero Potion Academy from Grandpa? Denise smiled. Don't worry, I won't break the contract, our marriage is still valid, whether it's my first time or my first child, it's all yours. Are you crazy? Will looked at Denise strangely. Denise said so much, thought so much, and came to this strange conclusion? Will really can't understand Denise's brain circuit. Hee, Grandpa, you just want me to give birth to a child of a bloodline person for the family, and you just want to get into the Zero Potion Academy. I am nothing to you. Denise laughed at herself. So, as you wish, I will give you my body, and I will conceive a child with you. In this way, Grandpa got the child he wanted, you got the Zero Potion Academy you wanted, and I also got freedom. I will live a real life with my own will, no longer a puppet of family and blood. Did you underestimate me? Will, who once sent his heart out to look down on Denise. But this time, Denise finally touched Will's bottom line, which made Will feel angry and murderous towards Denise from the bottom of his heart. Will is human too. Human beings have desires. If you have desires, you need to vent. Therefore, Will can also play with women and go shopping in the flower street. While playing, Will doesn't care how many men there have been and how many men there will be in the future for the woman under him. Because Will knew that this was just a pure money negotiation. I give you money. You help me vent my desire. However, if there is a marriage contract, if a child is born, that would be different. Even if you hate, be angry, or despair, you will never let you leave my hands, and you will never let other men be contaminated. Dan. Nisai. Will paused. Never think that you are such a special existence. To me, you are not a tool, not an object, just a woman under the equality of men and women, a woman who may be loved by me, or loved by others. Will never made fun of his women. Will can ignore the so-called marriage contract. But once the child is actually conceived, will absolutely never let go. Chapter 77. At that point, Will probably didn't really love Denise. But will treat Denise as well as possible, and will give Denise everything she wants, as if Denise is the person he loves the most. At least on the surface, yes. You can't stop me. My body is manipulated and destroyed by you, but only my heart is free. Denise didn't care about Will's thoughts. Sure enough, you are just a useless vase, a beautiful doll. Will still looked at the night sky. If you do this, will anyone be happy? You, me, Fern, and Tony? I've explained everything to Tony, and Tony supports my ideas. Denise looked at Will mockingly. True love is pure and hot, and emotionless monsters like you, is incomprehensible. No way? Will doesn't know what to say anymore. It really isn't a family, why don't you enter a family? After the troll time is over, I will conceive a child with you immediately. I can't wait to get rid of you. Denise turned and left. In the distance, Tony watched Denise secretly. After seeing Denise leave safely, Tony gave Will a hard look, then turned and left. It wasn't until the sound of footsteps disappeared in the distance that Will looked away from the moon. Humans really can't understand each other. Will was speechless. I have thought about it for a long time. Will sighed, you are Fern's granddaughter after all, if you die, will Fern continue to recommend me to enter Jello Potions Academy? Will has given up on his engagement to Denise. Anyway, there are a lot of people in the Fran family. At worst, I will wrong myself and marry more women from the Fran family and let them have more children. Will thought about it carefully and felt that this proposal would work. However, Denise cannot die. Will felt that as long as he was small, self-preservation would be fine. Moreover, Denise's strength is not weak, and it is not difficult to keep Denise's life. Why? The deserted moonlight poured on Will. There are always so many unexpected things happening. Finally met the demon hunter Leip, and under the leadership of Lep, stepped into the vast world of wizards. Rip is dead. Practice the body training method, breathing method and health preservation method to the extreme, and gradually integrate them into one. With this force, the toxins of the black stock solution can be completely eliminated. Even if you continue to swallow the black stock solution, it will not reduce your lifespan. However, due to the relationship between the real eye of the demon seed, he overconsumed the black stock solution every day, resulting in his lifespan stopping at 30 years old after all. Finally got help from Fern. And the price, originally it was simply the last peerless beauty, allowing this peerless beauty to conceive a child. Will thinks that his body is functioning normally, and he can easily complete this task. Result? I want the power to control everything, I want the power to prevent all accidents, I want the power to realize all wishes. Will's eyes were deep. Wizard, I hope you will not disappoint me. Poochie poochie poochie. Will opened the cage, and 10 snow-white pigeons flapped their wings and flew into the sky. Looking at the distant direction of the carrier pigeon, Will murmured, Grandpa Fern, I hope you can understand my difficulties. It's not that I don't want to, it's just. What happened in Amark City, Will must tell Fern Furlong. The fact that the 10 Troll Hearts mission has been accomplished, Denise's insistence on participating in the hunt for the troll leader, and Will's views on Denise's marriage contract, and the alternative plan. I hope you don't go too far, otherwise, even I don't know what I will do. Will clenched his fists tightly. Aside. Phyllis closed the heavy ancient book, her slender and white fingers gently sliding on the leather cover. Will, you look like you are ready to die. Phyllis chuckled lightly. How could you have such an idea? Will has always cherished his own life the most. You want to act with the Spike Fang Adventure Group, right? Phyllis' eyes were deep. What do you know? Will looked at Phyllis in surprise. Phyllis is one of the 7 people who came to Amark City from Sal City, the only 2 girls. That day at the library gate, after Phyllis got into a carriage, Will never saw Phyllis again, and neither did the others. Only in the last day or 2, Phyllis appeared in the library again. So I ran into Will, who was looking for information in the library by accident. Phyllis covered her mouth and laughed in a low voice. Only the idiots of the Spike Fang Adventure Group think how perfect and secret their plan is. You know? The plan of the Spike Adventure Group has been prepared for 30 years. Occasional information leaks are also normal. Will is not at all surprised that there are people in Yamak who know about the plans of the Spike Fang Adventure Group. But that person shouldn't be Phyllis. You're all going to die. Phyllis spoke in a flat tone as cold as death. I can't help it either. Will finally meets someone who understands him. Is it for Denise? Love really has the magic power to make people know that they must die, but they still want to die? Phyllis looked at Will strangely. I think Denise hates you. There is no need for that kind of woman is going to die. Saying that, Phyllis smiled charmingly. Will stared down at Phyllis. Phyllis' plain and simple white robe set off her purity and beauty. At first glance, Phyllis's appearance can only be said to be excellent, but she is extremely attractive, especially the peaceful atmosphere exuding from her body, which makes people unable to help but get close to her. When Phyllis was sitting under the tree with her book in her arms, tiny specks of light leaked out from the cracks in the leaves, swimming at the fingertips turning the pages of the book. Ah, that was the feeling of first love. Will's heart skipped a beat. He remembered the unforgettable green years and that beautiful figure on that water-blue planet. Will no longer remembered what the girl looked like. I don't remember whether the pattern of her clothes is plum or chrysanthemum. I don't remember whether she has dimples when she smiles, whether her canine teeth are exposed, whether her left eye is closed or her right eye is closed. I don't remember whether she likes to stomp her feet when she is angry, or puts her hands on her waist, lowers her face, or glances to the side. Only that feeling. Hidden deep in Will's heart. I thought I had forgotten it long ago, but was awakened by Phyllis again. The only thing Will was sure of was, Phyllis is far prettier than that girl. Because the girl Will has a crush on, in terms of appearance, can only enter the top 5 in the class, and she can't make a splash in the entire grade. And Phyllis? Will gently pushed Phyllis away. Thank you, you remind me of a good memory. He, then. Phyllis's sweet tongue brushed her lips, and she could already see Will's wavering. She knew all too well the emotion in Will's eyes. Will raised his head and looked at the blue sky. Under the vast and boundless universe, human beings are so insignificant. Once deep feelings. It seems so meaningless now. I cut it off. Chapter 78. Today. The resident of the Spike Fang Adventure Group looked extraordinarily quiet, with a chilling aura hanging over the sky. The door of the resident meeting room was closed. Outside the door, hundreds of elite adventurers were guarding, but the closest one to the meeting room was a full 50 meters away. In the meeting room, there were 12 people sitting. There are 3 chairs on the seats directly in front of the conference room. The 3 great knights of the Wolf Fang Adventure Group sat on 3 chairs. In the middle is a bear-like strong man with 3 scars on his face, the Great Knight March. On the left is a fat man who is more than 2 meters tall, fat as a meatball, and his facial features are squeezed out by fat, the Great Knight Assad. On the right, sat a woman wearing a bright red robe, smelling blood all over her body, with a cruel smile on her face, the Great Knight Mancha. On both sides of the conference room, there were 4 people sitting. Let me introduce to you, this is Denise, the eldest lady of the Fran family in Sar City. March said. Denise came out from behind March. Denise was wearing tight leather armor, her expression was firm, and her eyes shone with confidence. For the past few days, Denise has been receiving actual combat training from March. Although the combat experience is still insufficient, his strength has been significantly improved, and he is already able to fight with ordinary great knights. 11 pairs of eyes fell on Denise. Confuse. Excited. Envy. Denise endured all the sights and stood proudly. Miss Denise, like Burns, the leader of the blood-stained adventure group, is a bloodline man with strength comparable to that of a great knight. With the help of Miss Denise, our plan this time has a higher success rate. It can reach 50%. As he spoke, March took the lead in clapping his hands. Clap clap. March asked someone to move a chair so that Denise could sit side by side with the 3 great knights. The 4 great knights sat on the main seat, making everyone have great confidence in the success of this operation. After everyone is quiet. We have been preparing for this operation for 30 years. We have sacrificed everything and sacrificed countless brothers. We must not fail. March's eyes were sharp. If we succeed, our names will become legends, sung in the mouths of bards, and passed down for thousands of years, but if we fail, we will all become food in the belly of trolls. March stood up. Who is there among you who wants to quit now? No, Commander. We've already made up our minds. Isn't it the destiny of us adventurers to dedicate our lives to an S-rank mission, and even die for it? Machi nodded in satisfaction, raised his hand and shouted, for the sake of Spike, we are fearless. Spike. For Wolf Fang. We have nothing to fear. Immediately, fierce roars resounded throughout the base of the Wolf Fang Adventure Group. Let's go. 12 adventurers who were ready to go, with an indomitable momentum, opened the door of the conference room and headed towards Abayan Mountain. Will stood, watching one adventurer after another passionately passing by. As Denise approached, Will whispered, "Remember, don't get too far away from me." Denise walks by without even looking at Will. Looking at Denise's back, Will shook his head helplessly, feeling an ominous premonition in his heart. Denise is under my protection. Tony gave Will a hostile look, and then followed the enemy's large army. A full moon hangs high in the sky. All the starlight is covered by the bright moonlight. Night is like day. In the depths of the Abian Mountains, on a low hill, 20 people were lurking. 12 of them are members of Will and the Spike Adventure Group. The other 8 people are members of the Maker Adventure Group. The Wolf Fang Adventure Group has been preparing for the mission of hunting down the Troll King for 30 years, collecting all kinds of information. The strange rituals performed by the trolls in the Scarlet Moon are just one of the most important. More, it's a map. It is the topographic and geographical map of the Abian Mountains, the distribution map of Warcraft and Beasts, and the Troll Patrol map. Because of the detailed map, along the way, the Wolf Fang Adventure Group avoided all the monster habitats and various swamp miasma areas. Without losing a single person or disturbing a single troll, they came near the troll's lair. The members of the Maker Adventure Group met on the road. In the city of Yamak, there are at least hundreds of adventure groups, maybe thousands. Several prospective knights, along with some reserve knights or experienced hunters, formed an adventure group. Among nearly 1,000 adventure groups, most of them are small adventure groups of this kind. The slightly more powerful adventure group is composed of one or more knights as the leader, and several quasi-knights and reserve knights as members. There are only 5 adventure groups with great knights in the entire city of Yamak. That is, the top 5 adventure groups. And there are only the top 3 adventure groups with multiple great knights. The Maker Adventure Group, ranked 5th, has a great knight in charge, and the head of the group is the Great Knight of Maker. A few days ago, Mech went deep into the Abian Mountains to do a mission. Unexpectedly, because of the approach of the Scarlet Moon, the trolls in the depths of the Abian Mountains were extraordinarily numerous and extraordinarily ferocious. The Maker Adventure Group was attacked by multiple trolls. Only 8 members escaped into the forest and lost their way. Fortunately, I met the Spike Adventure Group passing by. After rescuing Maker's adventures, March invites Maker to join the Troll King's hunt. Under March's persuasion, Make was moved. King of the hunting troll clan. Once successful, they will become legendary heroes. And with Make himself, a total of 5 great knights. Faced with such a temptation, no one can refuse as long as he is an adventurer. Thus, 20 adventurers, including Will, came near the troll lair. It was already dark. In the distance, less than a kilometer away, is the lair of trolls. There are no walls, no sentry towers, no guards. The entire gathering place is only surrounded by fences nailed with logs. Inside the fence are huts, stone houses, and a simple altar in the center of the territory. At this time, a 3-meter-tall troll with black skin gathered in the troll's territory and surrounded the simple altar built by the boulder, roaring excitedly. The deafening sound resounded for kilometers. In the depths of the Abian Mountains, only the roar of the troll was shaking. During this night, all the creatures in the Abian Mountains crawled under the roar of the trolls, hid in the dark lairs and shivered, not daring to make a sound. Faced with such a shocking scene, everyone hiding on the hill was stunned. Fear spreads in silence. There are thousands of trolls there. I don't know who it is, and whispered fearfully. No one refuted. All plans, all self-confidence are shattered at this moment. Thousands of trolls are equivalent to thousands of great knights. Even if all the great knights in the human world are gathered together, can there be 1,000? March's thighs were trembling. Although the information had been memorized by heart, when he actually saw it, he was still frightened and lost his mind. Ma Chi glanced around and found that everyone had a retreat in their eyes. Everything is going according to plan. March said in a low voice. But... An adventurer looked at March with flickering eyes. Although he didn't continue, everyone knew what he meant. Chapter 79. If it was normal, with Ma Chi fiery character, he would have already kicked him. Didn't we already know these things? As long as we follow the plan, we will be able to succeed. March encouraged in a low voice. March looked at the people present one by one. It wasn't until everyone's hearts calmed down and their legs stopped trembling with fear that Ma Chi looked away. Hull, Hans, Kaya, you 3 carry smoke bombs, listen to our signal, throw smoke bombs, and cause chaos. Mond, Lao, Dut, the 3 of you go to the west of the trolls' territory. After hearing the signal, make a loud noise as planned to attract the trolls' attention. Townsend. Ma Chi issued tasks one by one, and every link was extremely important. Once a certain link goes wrong, not only will the entire mission fail, but you will also face the danger of death. when March clicked on Will's name. "I'll go with you too," Will said suddenly. "You?" March was taken aback. "My strength is good, and I'm also a bloodline, so I won't hold you back," Will explained. March glanced at Denise, saw Denise nod, and agreed to Will's request. Although this operation brought a lot of knights. But all the knights are just leading the way, assisting, and interfering. The only one who really went deep into the troll territory and assassinated the troll leader was the Great Knight, and it could only be the Great Knight. Once the troll leader is successfully killed, all the trolls are bound to be in chaos. At that time, the regiment members ambushing everywhere will act according to the plan, creating more chaos and covering the retreat of the Great Knight. And once it failed to kill the troll leader. The members of the regiment ambushing around as backup are okay. Those who go deep into the lair and personally assassinate them must be very dangerous, and they are close to death. In this case, you can also propose to go together. Definitely some strength. Uncle March, Tony stood up. Nonsense. Under March's dazzling gaze, Tony sat down awkwardly. Gazing at the moon in the sky. The moon gradually approached directly above the sky, and the edge of the moon began to be stained with a hint of red. The roar of the troll became more intense. Everyone knows it's time. March waved. Start to act. Everyone scattered. Will, Denise, March, Make, Assad, and Mancha, a total of 6 great knights, dressed in grey and black cloaks coated with breath-masking potions, rushed towards the troll territory. Tonight is a feast for the troll clan. Thousands of trolls gather at once, and no creature dares to make trouble. The troll's vigilance is also extremely low. So Will and his party easily sneaked into the troll's territory and continued to move towards the altar. Will came to Denise's side and exhorted, "Never leave my side." Denise turned her head away. Seeing this, Will sighed and said no more. "Denise is under my protection." A crisp voice suddenly remembered. Everyone's body froze. Looking in the direction of the sound, Tony was standing there with a determined face. "Tony, go back!" March shouted. "I don't." Tony walked up to Denise and stared at Denise obsessively. "You." March raised his hand and was about to hit Tony. "Forget it, which one of us wasn't young and arrogant?" Make stopped March. "But didn't you already bring one? It doesn't matter if you have one more." Assad glanced at Will. "Be quiet, don't disturb the troll." Mancha put her index finger on her lips, making a silent gesture. March's face was gloomy. If he had known earlier, he would not have brought Tony out. But March also knew that it was too late to think about it now. And Mancha is right, now is the most critical moment, and there must be no mistakes. March glared at Tony, and said, "Don't walk around, everything is under my command, do you understand?" "Okay, uncle," Tony said pleasantly. Tony came to Denise, approached Denise and wanted to get close to Denise. Denise has a little affection for Tony. Although she made it clear that it is not love, she also said that she is willing to give him a chance after the family and Will's affairs are over. Tony believed that with his childhood sweetheart relationship with Denise, as long as Denise let go of the barrier in her heart, she would definitely fall in love with him. Only, don't ordinary people say love in the future? Denise may not have feelings for Will, but what if she has a baby? Will he stay with Will because of the child? After all, the power of maternal love is very great. In order to prevent this situation, Tony must deepen his relationship with Denise as soon as possible, at least turning friendship into love before the child is born. While Tony was rambling, Will squeezed in the middle, pushing him and Denise apart. "You!" Tony glared at Will. Snort. After seeing Denise shaking her head at him, Tony looked back and suppressed the anger in his heart. It's come to this point, and I still think about love and love, young people nowadays. Will said with emotion in his heart. Will has no feelings for Denise. There is no opinion on whether Denise and Tony will fall in love and stay together. But as long as Denise remains Will's nominal fiancée, Will would absolutely not allow other men to touch a single hair of Denise, no matter what Denise thought in her heart whether she wanted to or not. Among the trolls, Will and his party proceeded cautiously. Tonight's trolls, their vigilance is too low. Wait and listen to my orders to act. Lying on the roof of a stone house 300 meters away from the altar, March said in a low voice. Will stared intently at the altar. The altar is made of huge stones and is extremely simple. On the ground of the altar, trenches were dug, and the trenches formed a simple pattern. There are no prismatic spar. Will looked left and right, but he didn't find the spar that he found in the four-armed ghost ape's lair that day. It's fine if you don't have one. Will breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time fixed his eyes on the alien objects placed in the middle of the altar. It was a head. It's just that this head is surprisingly big. It's just a head, it's 5 meters high, like a small house. Is that the head of the legendary Troll King? Will asked in surprise. It is said that in the distant era, there was a king of the troll family, known as the Troll King. The Troll King leads a clan of trolls to conquer the world. It's just a head, it's that big. How powerful was the Troll King when he was alive? Will sighed from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, I am proud of the human race. Even if it was as strong as the Troll King, it still fell on the way to conquer the world. Human beings now occupy the most fertile land, and they are veritable rulers of the world. How many powerful enemies must be defeated, and how many heroes must be born, in order to climb to the top of the world and reach today's position. Time, slowly passing by. The full moon has already dyed 2/3 red. An old troll with white hair, leaning on a bone staff, and pale wrinkled skin walked up to the altar and stood in the middle of the altar. Meanwhile, one apparently had a chain of human heads around his neck. The troll, who was obviously much stronger than the other trolls, walked up and stood respectfully beside the old troll. Whoops! The old troll growled in a voice Will couldn't understand. All the trolls suddenly became excited, as if something was about to start. The drum sounded. Boom boom boom. The huge leather drum made a heavy and deep sound under the beating of the troll. The sound of drums spread far and wide, shaking people's hearts. Will found that his heart was beating with the drumbeat, heavy and powerful. Ah! The trolls actually started fighting and beating themselves, and the scene suddenly became chaotic. Thousands of trolls scuffled together. The ground cracked and smoke billowed. Blood, roars, drums, all mixed together. Chapter 80. Will and his group stared blankly at the chaotic scene in front of them. Why do trolls fight? Infighting happened? Or part of the troll's Crimson Moon ritual? No matter which type it belongs to, as long as it can weaken the troll, it will be a good thing for Will and his party. The chaos gradually subsided. Among the thousands of trolls, 17 blood-stained and exceptionally strong trolls came out. Could it be the selection process of the troll warrior just now? Will thought in surprise. Will heard about it from March. In Crimson Moon rituals, troll priests lead. The troll leader and more than a dozen troll warriors served as assistants on the altar, offering blood tribute to the Troll King. It's just that Will never expected that the process of selecting troll warriors would be like this. Fight on the spot? Let me see how strong you are. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never end in 100 battles. This sentence, Will has always kept it in his heart. Will looked around and quietly removed the patch over his left eye. Since Denise and the others were all focused on the altar, no one noticed Will's golden pupil in his left eye. The eyes of truth have been exposed to the air for a long time. Will could clearly feel that the life force in his body was draining faster. Will's true eye, although it comes from Rep, but there is a big difference between the two. Will's is a magic seed, and Rip's is a magic weapon. When it is a magic weapon, when it is not activated, the consumption is 0. And the demon seed will always absorb Will's vitality, and its ability is much weaker than that of the magic weapon, but the adjustment and control of its power is much smoother. When Rep uses the magic weapon Real Eye, he will uncontrollably reveal a coercion. It's the breath of a giant dragon. And Will, who can hide the coercion, quietly uses the Eye of Reality without being discovered. The eyes of reality are opened, and the world in the eyes has changed. Become crystal clear. Will can clearly see fine dust, flowing blood, crawling ants, everything. Will looked up the altar. First came the 17 troll warriors. The vitality is so strong, dozens of times that of mine. Will exclaimed in his heart, is there no magic power? It seems that trolls are not monsters. The beating of the heart, the strength of the muscles, the strength of the bones, countless information were displayed in front of Will one by one. It was as if the troll warrior was lying on the operating table, and Will had studied it carefully. After the complicated deduction in my heart, the conclusion is out. The strength is very strong, with the peak strength of a great knight, similar to the captain of the four-armed ghost ape that I met back then. Now, if I use all my strength, solving them is similar to strangling a mouse. Thinking, Will looked at the troll leader. The troll leader was indeed much stronger, his light vitality was several times that of the troll warrior, and the wisdom revealed in his eyes was far beyond what ordinary trolls could match. The strength is about the same as that of the ape king. For me now, it is not much different from goblin. Finally, to the troll priest. Because he is too old, has his vitality decreased? His vitality is only 1/3 of that of ordinary trolls, and his strength may not even be as good as that of a peak knight. Will shook his head, already thinking about it. Just about to put on the blindfold. Hey? Looking at the troll priest, Will was taken aback. It's such a huge and pure mental power, it's more than 10 times stronger than mine. At first, because Will was too focused on the strength of the troll's vitality, he failed to discover the huge spiritual power of the troll priest. This kind of spiritual power is absolutely impossible to innate. Will was surprised, could it be that there are also techniques for cultivating spiritual power in the troll clan? Immediately, Will shook his head. So what if you have strong mental power? At most, you should be more energetic, have a better memory, and have limited ability to enhance frontal combat. The spiritual power is weird and mysterious, and has many abilities that Will has not discovered yet. But as far as Will knows so far, mental power has little effect on increasing hard power and strengthening frontal combat capabilities. If the strength of the troll is just that, there should be no danger tonight. More noteworthy, only troll priests. Of course, for Will, there is no danger, which means that he has the confidence to take Denise out of the troll territory alive. As for the lives of others? Feel sorry. It's not within the scope of Will's guarantee, so save it if you can. Will put on the blindfold, and the scene in his eyes suddenly became dark and blurred. It took a while to get used to it. At this time, the ritual of the troll began. The troll priest approached the troll king's head devoutly, and walked in through the terrifying giant mouth opened by the head. Come to the head of the troll king. The troll priest knelt down, picked up a long object, and muttered something. Because the light inside the troll king's skull was too dim, Will and the others couldn't see what the troll priest was holding. Coming! March muttered something under his breath. Will looked up, and saw the scarlet full moon hanging high in the sky, like a red gem, embedded in the night sky, taking away all the light. It's so beautiful. After coming to this world, Will saw the bloody moon for the second time. But still so shocking. Will lowered his head and focused on the altar again. Now is not the time to admire the moon. On the altar. The strange syllables spewed out of the troll priest's mouth became louder and louder. Boom boom boom. The drums are ringing rapidly, intense, impatient, and passionate. The troll leader and 17-headed troll warriors on the altar began to dance to the sound of drums. While making a weird roar, it twisted its body and danced. The dance of trolls is very strange. Every troll moves differently, as if dancing with instinct. The troll warrior danced on the altar, tearing open his wounds with his hands. Grunt grunt grunt. Blood flowed down the body of the troll warrior, along the lines carved on the altar. The troll leader holds a knife, and every time he jumps to an exciting place, he will cut a knife on his body, causing blood to splatter. Thousands of trolls in the audience followed suit. The smell of blood pervaded the entire troll territory, and continued to drift to the depths of the Abian mountains. If it is normal, this bloody smell will definitely attract many beasts. But it's not right. Will took off the blindfold again, and the real eye opened. Is that so? Will was surprised to find that streams of vitality gushed out from the troll, flew towards the skull of the troll king, and landed on the objects in the hands of the troll priest. With his view blocked by the figure of the troll priest, Will looked down on what it was. But Will knew that that thing was definitely not simple. In the territory of the four-armed ghost ape, there is a terrifying spirit hidden, but that power is definitely beyond the control of the four-armed ghost ape. Trolls are different. Although I don't know what kind of power it is, it should be much weaker than the spirit body, but this power is completely controlled by the troll and can be invoked at any time. Will, for the success of this operation, has given up hope. If the troll is completely enraged and offended, even Will may not be able to leave the troll's territory alive. Denise, I will rescue the hostages with you later. Will whispered to Denise. Denise didn't answer, but it was Tony who spoke. Hee, you coward, do you want Denise to be by your side to protect you? A guy who has nothing but special blood. Tony mocked. Denise. Will whispered again. I still have a very important task. Tony will go with you to rescue the hostages and protect Tony. Denise responded. Will sighed silently. This time, Will didn't wear the blindfold. He just gently closed his left eye, ready to open it at any time and enter the fighting state.